Gentlemen, welcome to the closing argument. We will be starting shortly. Welcome, welcome. Invite a friend. Welcome. RTC Tomalin is in the back. He will be moving this forward. Uh, but we'd like to welcome everybody to the closing argument. For the next few days till next week, I believe the end, there are a couple of ads that will be playing for some of our folks who is doing an ad with us for their upcoming celebration. The Delaware Sports Association of Delaware, different groups. So we encourage you to just bear with us. I see the Chief Tillman George himself is in the back. So the beginning of the show, we will do the ad, and then we will go into the show, at least at the beginning and then the end. We'll be doing the ad. We got a couple of folks who have reached out to Closing Acumen. They want to do a special ad with us. So we encourage you to also reach out to us if you have any ad. We next week we're going to have the group from the Cummings team. They're going to be having a dinner as well, and they have reached out to us. They might come on the show to talk about the dinner they'll be having. And we have the Delaware Sports Association, Old Timer Sports Association in Delaware. They will be coming to us as well. They'll be joining us for 2 days on Wednesday and Friday. They'll be coming to talk about the upcoming July 26th celebration that's being taking place in Delaware. One or two other group, the Liberian Association of Europe as well. So we encourage you to just join us. So once the guys come, we'll take over. I see Chief Tomalin George is in the back, and we just like to begin this program. So please invite somebody. Please share. Today is going to be an action-packed, very hot program. So I'm telling you, if you miss it, you miss something great. So I encourage you to be there. We got some great Del Francis from former, I believe, Deputy Minister, the Ministry of Finance, will be coming up. Will be appearing today, and we'll be talking about a lot of things. We'll be talking about Liberia, the Alan White guy who is at the forefront of uh, the War and Economic Crime Court, but he also have signed a contract with the Liberian government. So you see all those things coming up today. So we encourage you, share. There's a lot of things happening here today. So we encourage you to just share. Let's just do some ad, and then we will get there. We see Tomalin in the back. When Tomalin ready, he will come on. I believe when he's ready, he will join us. So let's just do the ad for now, and then when Tomalin come on, and then we'll begin the show. But guys, don't miss today's show. Don't miss it. Don't miss it. So let's see whether we can play this video. It's about an all-white cruise party that is scheduled to take place too on July, I believe July 20th. So I'm going to see what I can pop this video up. So and play this. So does not seem to be coming up so well.
In the shade with straight vibes from me now. Uptown full of fun, Cherry Garden, Dream Week.
There you go.
More may come from it. The girl does a pose like dummy now. And the tongues them a rub them down, In the shade with straight vibes from me now. Uptown full of fun, ATI we are going now. Cherry Garden, Dream Week.
All right, this is the will be taking place in Philadelphia, hosted by Bob Soiree. Is going to be taking place very soon, so we encourage you. It's on Saturday. I'll bring you more details when we get it. I'll bring you more detail. The video seems to be very short, but also let's go to this one by the European Liberian Association. Let's play this for the July 26th celebration that's going to take place in Germany on beginning the 26th to the 29th. Let me get this up and see what I can play this one. And so, all right, guys, let's do
Hello,
this. All right.
Hello, 26
This is we got some hiccup. We got some hiccup here. So
For a celebration like no other. The Liberian Independence Day extravaganza is here. Mark your calendar for this year's July 26th commemoration in Bosburg, Germany, as the European Federation of Liberian Associations, for short AFLA, presents a day full of pure blaze, from a star-studded meet and greet to a rare carpet event and on to a dazzling all-night wear party and an all-Liberian case and cultural exchange, traditional food fair that will warm your heart. And let's not forget the epic sport showdown in soccer and kickball between Liberians and non-Liberian teams. But wait, there's more. Soul-stirring musical performances from trending Liberians and non-Liberian artists will light up the night. Join us for a day you will never forget. And please don't miss out. And don't forget the keynote speech by Senator Amara Conan, a distinguished Liberian figure. This event attracts Liberians and well-wishers from all around the world for a memorable celebration. Book your hotels.
we having some problem.
Four persons is
We having some problem, guy. We're gonna bring this back on. Once we get it set up, we'll bring it back on. The video seems to be a little bit not going through. Let me see whether we can start this and then we'll begin the show. God, bear with us. You know, to all our friends watching from the
hello
UK.
Liberians, hello diaspora Liberians. It's July 26th. Hello Liberians, hello diaspora Liberians. It's July 26th celebration time. Oh yeah! This is the event you've long been waiting for. Diaspora Liberians, get ready for a celebration like no other. The Liberian Independence Day extravaganza is here. Mark your calendar for this year's July 26th commemoration in Bosburg, Germany, as the European Federation of Liberian Associations, for short AFLA, presents a day full of pure blaze, from a star-studded meet and greet to a rare carpet event and on to a dazzling all-night wear party and an all-Liberian case and cultural exchange, traditional food fair that will warm your heart. And let's not forget the epic sport showdown in soccer and kickball between Liberians and non-Liberian teams. But wait, there's more. Soul-stirring musical performances from trending Liberians and non-Liberian artists will light up the night. Join us for a day you will never forget. And please don't miss out. And don't forget the keynote speech by Senator Amara Conan, a distinguished Liberian figure. This event attracts Liberians and well-wishers from all around the world for a memorable celebration. Book your hotels, tickets, and souvenirs now before it's too late. VIP ticket, a table of 4 persons, is €300. The easy table or the VVIP, a table of 2 persons, is for €300, while the ordinary or the regular ticket is for just €50. Be a part of an unforgettable experience at AFLA's celebration of the 26th. We see you there, and please bring somebody. Don't enjoy this unique occasion all alone. President Francis Mensah say, see you there, and he's joining you to celebrate the 26th. And this message is brought to you by the Media, Press, and Public Relations Office of AFLA.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. We will continue this when through the week. And also, as I said, the Liberian Association, the Old Timer of Delaware, will be having a major celebration beginning next week for the July 26th. So next week, we'll be bringing folks from the Tamar, the president, Mr. Ian Kessley, Givler Kessley, has reached out to me, and they will be appearing on this show beginning next week, Wednesday and Friday as well. And then we also have the ANC Global are going to be having a special dinner. They have reached out to the closing acumen. They will be coming on appearing as well. So we want to have slot for them. Well, again, guys, welcome to the Closing Acumen. And Tomalin in the back. Tour guide will be moderating the day along with Tomalin George. I'm just hanging out. I'm all the way in Virginia at Virginia Beach, but we still find time to ensure that we bring the show live to you. Moses Dennis, James Coyote, Michael Godwin, Philip Kate, he's watching all the way from London. Winifred Smith from Maryland, our own dear sister. Christian Roberts, he said I'm almost late. You're always on time, Christian, so get late one time. Helena Agibwi, she's watching from the United Kingdom, and Harris Talker is watching from Detroit, Michigan. So guys, share the show. Welcome to the Closing Acumen. Once Tomalin comes on, we will begin the discussion. The chief panelist, Sir Tomalin George. Once he gets on, we'll begin the conversation. But guys, we just want you to sit back tight tonight. There is a lot happening, and you do not want to miss this on the Closing Acumen. It's a whole lot happening. You don't want to miss this. It's happening, and you do not want to miss it at all. Let me. So welcome, guys. Welcome. Share the show. As we get ready for this all important Wednesday edition of the Closing Acumen. Welcome, guys. All of you that have taken up time to be part. Bills and Pay. Welcome, brother. You are here, bro. We got a lot of story here today. A lot of news. A lot of happening, and you don't want to miss this. You don't want to miss it, guys. So guys, welcome. Okay, Tomalin.
What's up? You having fun, eh?
It's been nice. It's been nice. A lot of fun. Beach, the kids, and all of that. But it's been a lot of fun, man. A lot of fun at Virginia Beach, all the way 5 hours from home. So we here. It's been fun. The kids love it. They're having fun. So that's great.
Yeah. It's good to be back on the Closing Argument. As usual, I see the guests already in the back. We'll bring in the next 10 minutes. We'll bring in the next 5-10 minutes. We'll bring a guest in. As the guest said. Yeah, this weekend we'll be in Maryland again in Gettysburg. Our church from Liberia, Tubman Memorial United Methodist Church. We're meeting in Maryland, Gettysburg, where we come together, having a bus tour of Washington D.C. on Friday. I think Thursday. Tomorrow's the meet and greet. But I won't be there until Saturday because I got things to do for the business session, and then Sunday have a dinner concert on Saturday night, and Sunday the service, and Sunday barbecue and the farewell barbecue. But we all do all this for the interest of for Liberia. Our church back home, we don't forget about them. We do a lot of projects at our church. We just constructed a modern bathroom for the church. We continue to do these things. Last week we were in Minnesota for our Firestone, where we just constructed a modern library, learning center, and we approved to build an annex to the Carnegie Public School in District 2, Magibie, and also a modern referral clinic in Magibie, Dolestown. That's our project for this coming year. But guys, the Peabody said, a lot of trending news and around the country. Surprised to also see the Chief Justice of Liberia in the news. The Chief Justice of Liberia. This lady Chief Justice Nyenwolo, she spent $25,472 on DSA alone. DSA means daily subsistence allowance, and $8,082 on air tickets to see medical checkup. in Turkey, and such a lavish expenditure on a single trip in a poor country like Liberia violates the government of Liberia revised 2016-17 travel ordinance law. Look, it's saddening though. That's why I was telling somebody this today. I said, look, if we don't believe we have gotten it wrong for the last 18 years, then we should just forget it. Because for the last 18 years, we have gotten it all wrong. And still the same, because things, somebody was a communist always saying you're doing something over and over, expecting different results, and still we're not getting it right. How would the Chief Justice, spend all that money to go to Turkey for medical checkup, and they abandoned JFK, they abandoned Redemption Hospital, they abandoned Jackson F. they abandoned Phoebe, all these hospitals in Liberia are abandoned. So you think that this is where we should go for justice, but this is what's happening in our country. But we have the GSC audit is out. This is a leaked audit already out, but they're calling this is leaked. They're claiming that the Executive Protection Service under the former administration spent without evidence $24.7 million and $621.9 million Liberian dollars. But it's good to have the focus person that was at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, one of Liberia's best macroeconomic policy expert, Francis Rare. He'll be here tonight with us. He's already getting ready. He's going to be here to talk through on this audit report. I think he has some problem with it. I believe his report is not clear. It's not. He has an issue with this report, and so he'll be coming here tonight to discuss this report. And so we're happy to have him here tonight. But before we bring the Francis in, within the next 2 minutes, as we get ready, let me welcome some of our regular guests, our viewers. My big brother Edwin Croft from Delaware. He said, like brother Elephant Meat. Thompson B. Bors, watching from Sydney, Australia. Alison Ford Batua, watching from Johnsonville. That's my home. That's where my project is. Good. Alison, yeah. We also see James Coyote Jr. Oh, my boy, our own boy, Coyote. Michael T. Biddle. That's Michael Biddle. My brother there for a long time, Michael. Yes, we have not talked for a long time. Chokon J. Latrobe, watching from North Dakota. Maurice Roberts, watching from Habel, my home city of birth, Habel.
And where you'll be representing the people.
Oh man, the guy who in that district, my man, I met him on the weekend. I think that guy is man. Your man of Ava June. Ava June did a good job. So maybe
so your process is on hold for now.
No. We can't be greedy, on a serious note. But that his second turn.
I'm not saying you greedy.
His second turn though. His second turn, and he's eyeing a bigger one. Let's see what happened.
You can do it, Joseph Vieira, man. I
know Joseph Vieira. I know that. What they call him? What the guy that they said Opi. One guy, the guy who's in our area, District 1. We'll check it out. Okay. But they're welcome on the guys. Otello Swan, Maurice Roberts, all these guys, welcome. Welcome to the closing argument. We have the neo-progressive himself, Sylvester K. Peabody, a former Assistant Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Liberia. Somebody asked me, say, what was Sylvester's job? I said, the man was Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, but he wasn't utilized the right way. So the man's you see a consummate diplomat, you keep me an assistant minister. What's wrong here? The man should be elevated. But the man said, look, I think I can come to America and do better, man. Let me move on. But he's a great guy, though. So Mr. will make a good foreign or even ambassador at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He understands the geopolitics. He understands the issues of foreign policy and everything. So he brings a lot to the table. So, but let's welcome up But before we welcome Mr. Francis Redd, let me give you guys that before I waited for Toga. Toga will take his lead in this thing today. But let's hear from Pee-wee. Give your what's on your mind for what's happening in the country, what happened around the world, the country, wherever. What's on your mind? You muted.
I'm delighted, first and foremost, to be alive and for all of us to be here today. We don't deserve this. We just want to say thank you to God for granting us this opportunity. And what's on my mind basically to see Liberia basically at peace and the democracy should forge on. But what is also on my mind is the thing that's unfolding here, because the peace here, the democracy on course here, I've been closely following the process here and back home in the country and listening to most of the thing, because we have some of the member of Congress currently visiting Liberia, and that individual or those individuals being paid some courtesy visitation and having tete-a-tete with Liberian government officials and civil society. It is very key here during the days of, because we in diplomacy, we observe signals. There are signals. We try to unfold and try to analyze those signals and try and do an appropriate interpretations thereof. So the visitation of those lawmakers, the congressional men in the country, in our country today, is very key, and it's part of the process about observing what is unfolding in the democracy and trying to do some appraisal, and we'll get back and do some recommendation to other sector of the U.S. government. So it's important that meeting with all sectors, all facets of the government, the civil society groupings, the legislative body of our country, the judiciary, and that of the executive, and the civil society. My thought process is also is that this, what I'm inclined to believe is that they will also meet the religious community and the rest of that, and the chief of elders. And so it's a very collective process here. We need to take notes from that, about the governance of our country and the role we play here in the diaspora and those in the country. But it's important that we keep the democracy moving, and I'm one person that's key on the process. If there's development, we will have to be productive in our thought process and not always counterproductive. And that's what I will always say. I believe here that if the government have done extraordinary things in terms of commending the government, particularly from the standpoint of what we believe as development, we should come and create and commend the government. If the government did anything that's condemnable, we condemn the government and proffer some solution to way forward as to how we thought they should move forward. It's part of it. It's not, and that's me. It's not always, because if you are opposition, the definition of opposition is to oppose what is not right. And a right definition of opposition also is to commend what is right. If it is not that pleasing, then you proffer other solution moving forward. So there's a lot of critical processes unfolding in our country. We will need more answers, because if you are in the public glare, you will have to give responses or respond to public concerns and do things that are in keeping with public good. And that is part of the nature of our democracy. If you represent, and it's part of the social contract theory. The social contract theory is immense, it's intense. It's not about people just coming and sitting somewhere, just wake up, boom. A lot of time here, we run with things that we don't prove. We just want to be very sensational in terms of our mindset to criticize people, and then when we on the other side can do the rest of that. But that's one of the why I'm observing the country. But yeah, the country is well on course in terms of the process about moving the pieces on. We should commend the peace process in the country and hold the government feet to the fire, because the government ran on the mantra of rescuing the country. If you ran on the mantra of rescuing the country, you have to give room to give those deliverables that the people expect of you. If you did some great things, we commend you. And that's one of the reasons why most of what is unfolding. I listened to Senator Dillon today. He said there being a foreign committee hearing on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And it's very important, before I close on here, we need to highlight that. There's this news that Minister Kimia deplored. That's what they're saying. That's what the current minister is saying. The current ministry is saying that Minister Kimia deployed a lot of people, a lot of incompetent people on different foreign areas. Today, the committee head of section with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs official, including the minister and the deputy minister of Foreign Affairs, they said they begin the process now of recalling. There's a massive recall. That process is going to start next week. they're going to call most of them. So some of them were deployed here in America, in England, in Spain, across Africa. What I'm hearing is more than 100 persons, but they're going to focus on around 50 first and foremost that they deem to be incompetent. I don't know how those people are incompetent, because there was this process set in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for folks to go through the Foreign Service Institute. There was some training before folks are deployed onto those missions and the rest of it. But I would hope that we'll take some time to dive into that and get some analysis and ask some more deeper questions about those things.
Yeah, the guest been in the background for so long. So let's bring in the Francis Rare. We can bring the guest for tonight. Welcome to Lofa. He's been some rare band here for the last 20 minutes. He came on time. So I want to welcome him. Mr. Liberia macroeconomics policy expert. He was the focus person at the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning in the last administration on payroll reform. And Mr. Reb, he said today on his Facebook page, CDC fixed more than 75% of the Social Security problems in the government in the last 6 years than 12 years. The records are there. You're going to come tonight to bring the record. He also said, ask Minister of Finance for Development Plan for Social Security withholding records. They are the sole withholding agent of the central government for the LRA and NASCOP. So he will break down tonight all of these and issues that's trending. But as we welcome him, Mr. Reb, welcome Mr. Reb. Let me say, today the guy who is responsible for our show to be on all the time, the guy from 2FM, O'Neill Roberts and Somba. Today is his birthday. I want for us to bless him today, guys. Whatever you got today, please, you guys can send it to the cash app for this young man. He makes sure that we are on all the time. He's in the background there. You don't see him, but he's always there. I want to recognize him today, his birthday. He makes sure that we are on the radio live all over the country. O'Neill Roberts and Somba. Today is his birthday. We can bless him today, wherever you guys get. Nobody's voluntary. Just bless this young man to appreciate him today. Our cash out will be up. Help this guy. But besides that, we want to welcome Mr. Del Francis Reb. We are live on True FM. We are live on Mahalo FM. We are also on the YouTube, on Facebook, and all over the country. Mr. Reb, welcome to the closing argument. I know you were here before, but it was months, almost a year you've been here. But again, today is a special day to come here to come and respond to this audit from the GAC about the EPS and Social Security funding, wherever the case. But before we start, let Lofa say something because he's just coming on. Lofa, and get it going after you, Mr. Rek, coming.
Well, actually, great to be here. Happy Wednesday to all of you guys. Due to the fact that we already had our guest in the back for so long, as you stated earlier, I think we should just get into the conversation because Liberians will love to hear a lot based on the fact that he has what we will call inside source, firsthand information and experience with what we'll be discussing here. So we would like to dive into his expert knowledge and understanding of the day-to-day activities that took place and what we're experiencing today. So great to be here. Welcome to the platform as well, like Tomalin said, and everybody else. Let's have a great show.
Great. Mr. Red, the Francis Red. First of all, how are you doing, brother? How's the family and how's everything going with you?
Thank you. I'm very good. I feel very good. And let me extend my greetings to the closing argument family, to you guys for doing a wonderful job, keeping the program on and informing the Liberian people about the happenings in the country, about the events that are occurring in our country, and also proffering some of the best solutions that our country can live by to keep, to take our people out of poverty and make our country to prosper, or lead our country to prosperity. Yeah, so as you said, my essence for appearing on today's show is mainly triggered by a portion of the audit report for the EPS that has to do with the issue of non-remittance of Social Security uh, deduction from employees of the EPS to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. Um, the other aspect of the audit, which are very, very financial in nature, I really don't have the information to comment on them. I want to make this very clear. The essence, my presence on the show is to really, really deal with the issue of the social security claims and accusation, or the social security exception made through the draft audit report or the leak audit report of the General Auditing Commission. And I think it is my responsibility, like I said, in my post, that I'm compelled to do this because over the past 6 years, my team and myself have been, the focus, a team in the Ministry of Finance, working along with the CSC and also the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation, trying to improve some of the reform, not just in payroll, but also reform in the area of Social Security deduction, Social Security remittance, and also the disbursement of Social Security pension to beneficiary of the central government. And I put in quote central government, meaning those agencies of the government that are under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, which from our calculation are about 105 to 106 entities of government up to the time that I work in the Ministry of Finance, or up to the time that I left the Ministry of Finance.
Great. Okay, I will go straight to my question because of time. You said it was during the payroll reform and harmonization process that many of these payrolls related missteps and violations were analyzed and corrected by the consolidation, decentralization, and automation of the government of Liberia payroll. Can you just double down on what you're trying to say about that on that issue?
Yes, so firstly, let me provide general public information and education about how Social Security works,
Okay.
so that our people get an understanding of it, and also how does it play, within the central government. So Social Security is a deduction. It's not a tax as many people see it. It's a deduction that is placed with the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation for them to invest so that a yield profit, a yield dividend. So in the event that you retire in the future, that dividend is sufficient enough to sustain you through pension, that you can live a very good life through the payment that Social Security will give you, up to your the time you leave the earth, up to your demise, and then later on your family people, your wife there onto it, and so on and so forth. So like the private sector, the government also have institutions. Those institutions are ministry, agency, and commission of government. So those ministry, agency, and commission, like the private sector, they also have employees that they employ and that they pay salaries to. So the Social Security law requires that of the salary that the employer pays, in a case the government of Liberia pay, whether to an EPS officer, whether to a police officer, or to an accountant, or to a professor, or to a teacher in a community college, or wherever that person is, the law requires that the government, through the Ministry of Finance, in a case, who is the employer, deduct Social Security, deduction. And the Social Security deduction currently, is at 10%, meaning 10% of the person gross pay. But this 10% under the new law is divided into three sections. 4% is paid by the employee, meaning if I'm Dale Francis, I work with the Ministry of Finance, I earn $100. By virtue of the fact that I'm an employee, my contribution as an individual, I have to pay 4% of that $100. So the government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Finance, which is the withholding agent, the sole withholding agent of the government, that sole withholding agent is the Ministry of Finance, is authorized to make sure when they're doing payment of my salary, they make sure that deduction is made, which the Ministry of Finance has been doing. So they will take that $4 out, prepare a check, and remit that check to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation, which is NASCOP. So all of the employees of government under the central government payroll, from the time that we were there, and, up to the time we left, the government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, has been deducting the 4% from the employees and remitting to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. Is that point we want to make very clear that no agency or government under the law, even under the practice, under the procedure, is capable of withholding Social Security under the central government and keeping it in their account and using it and not remitting to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. It may be different from SOEs, state-owned enterprises that are not under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Finance in terms of payroll processing. Those agencies may withhold and decide not to remit. That's a different case, not what I'm discussing. I'm discussing the 107 entities of government under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of Finance in terms of payroll and under the CSA in terms of payroll, that are processed through the Ministry of Finance, that it is impossible for them, for their heads, for their managers, for their directors, for their minister, assistant minister, deputy minister, to withhold Social Security and don't remit to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. It's totally impossible. It's not something that can happen because the payroll is processed through the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. And Ministry of Finance and Development Planning does the deduction and remit to the Social Security. Another point to also make is this issue of the security sector entities, and I try to make it very detailed in my post. Before the new law came into effect in 2017, July, that is then July 2017 was before CDC even took over. There was an old law which we call the PRC Decree number 14. Under that PRC Decree number 14, there were several entities of government that were exempted from Social Security deduction. Those entities of government included the security sector entities. So in short, they were the military and the paramilitary people or employees. So when you look on our jurisdiction of governance in terms of security sector entities include Ministry of National Defense, where we have the AFL. You have the EPS, the Executive Protection Service. It used to be called the SSS, Special Security Service. You have Liberia Immigration Service, the LIS. You have the Liberia National Fire Service. You have the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency. All those security-related entities of government under the PRC Decree number 14 were exempted from Social Security payment. And that lasted for the entire 12 years, and 11 years, 6 months of the Unity Party 12 years governance. So in 2016, the law was revised. So decree number 14 was repealed, and a new chapter 89 was put in place, and reorganizing the National Social Security and also establishing a pension fund. So the difference between the old law and the new law is the new law only exempts the military, meaning only the AFL. Only the AFL, the Armed Forces of Liberia. So all other paramilitary within the security sector, as at the beginning of July 1, 2017, they were supposed to pay Social Security deduction. Meaning, if I were working with the police, if I were working with the EPS, as of July 1st, 2017, the government in power at that time supposed to deduct Social Security from me and remit to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation for my, my pension, accumulation. But that did not happen. And I believe the reason why it didn't happen, because there were not many awareness, not so much of awareness to the security sector agency. And because there wasn't awareness, and the fact that it also came with the pain of taking away income from people, so the outgoing government didn't see the need, to actually start this, because it was in July election in October. No government want to start deducting Social Security from a group of people who, they feel that if they didn't deduct it, the people will vote for them. So we can understand why it didn't happen. So the government, even though the government budget year at that time started from July 1, to June 30th, 2018, they did not deduct that Social Security. So a lot of education didn't go on for the deduction to take place. So we enter into 2018. A lot of security sector entities were of the inclination that this new law is almost like the old law, such that it won't affect them in terms of social security deduction. So when we started to do the reform on payroll, now we started to realize that the new law only exempts the armed forces of Liberia, only exempt the armed forces of Liberia and several other diplomatic missions. That if you are an ambassador and you you working in the state, you have domestic workers, you have a church, you are a casual workers. All those people, they say in the new law, like the old law, they also should not be affected by Social Security. So the painful part of the reform was for us to start, which is the 4%. So we did to have a control over how you do the calculation of the Social Security. You first needed to have a consolidation of the payroll, meaning you knowing how many persons on the payroll. You also have to know their gross pay, and you also, for some, you have to have their Social Security numbers, so that when you're doing the deduction, you're doing the remittance, you can submit their Social Security number and their names to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation, so that they can do the accounting entry, so that their Social Security account at the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation can be credited, and so forth, and so, and all of that. So we did that, and we realized that since not many of the security entities were doing the deduction, we needed to have some awareness planning and awareness activity with them. So their implementation of the deduction did not start in 2019, because we needed to carry on awareness so that this shouldn't be seen as a shock to them. So that's one of the reasons why we delayed, and I think it was in 2020, the May part of 2020, that we started full implementation in terms of the deduction from the security sector entities, meaning the EPS, the LIS, the Liberia National Police, the Liberia Immigration Service, the Liberia Fire Service, and the Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency. So that's how we started, the process. Also to note is the fact that even presidential appointees under the 12 years of UP did not or didn't do Social Security deduction, because they had a special presidential appointee payroll that was processed, or through, or express, means, to pay presidential appointees. So they didn't have Social Security deduction. So when CDC took over and we had a reform, we said, but you cannot have the presidential appointee payroll separated from the agency payroll. So whatever affect the agency payroll should affect, the presidential appointees. That way, ministers, deputy ministers will take ownership of their payroll, because if their payroll is separated from the agency payroll, what that means is if the agency payroll is delaying, they won't have any incentive to correct it because they didn't set that on a payroll. So the best way to get their connection to the payroll is to include them on the payroll. And the fact that they were included on the payroll, we also notice the fact that they were not paying Social Security, and we said that the law did not exempt them. The fact that the law didn't exempt the president of the republic and were taking Social Security from him. The fact that the law didn't exempt the vice president and were taking Social Security from her. It meant that all the people under the executive were required to do Social Security deduction. So immediately putting it on the payroll, we started the Social Security deduction for presidential appointee for the first time, since the 12 years, since the end of the war, or since, we even knew our country that presidential appointee were not paying Social Security deduction. So that was the extent, of the reform. And the deduction, like we said, is done by, it's done by the Ministry of Finance through the IFMI system, because there's a special system that the government process of voucher through. So when agencies submit their voucher, those vouchers are processed with the IFMI system, which is the integrated management information system. It has the budget model of the government, budget execution that allows voucher to be processed electronically, that also allows for us to have reference to financial records, over time. So when that comes in, when those vouchers come in, the work of the Ministry of Finance is to make sure that all the applicable laws, procedures, under the public financial management law and regulation are adhered to before that check is released. And one of the fundamental laws with payroll is the issue of tax deduction, which is the withholding tax that goes to LRA, and also Social Security deduction that go to National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. So when Ministry of Finance do the deduction, the check for that deduction, it is for tax, is written in the LRA NIM, and the type of tax is written as withholding tax or personal income tax, and the ministry or agency who that tax is due on, that ministry or agency is written on the check. If it is for Social Security, the check is written in the name of Social Security, and the purpose of the check is Social Security withholding or Social Security contribution, 4% employee contribution, and the entity whose employees they are deducting the amount for their entity name is written on the check. So for all of the several entities of government, for all of the months that Social Security deduction, started in 2019, there are checks available at the Ministry of Finance. There are records, financial records available within the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, within the information integrated management information system of the government, which is IFMIS. And besides that, you also have physical vouchers that are available within the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. So somebody asks and say, oh, but how come you didn't post or you couldn't provide a check? No, that's how government information business work. Government information is not private information that when you are leaving government, you put it on your computer or you put it in your pocket and bring it to your house so that when there are issues, you can put it up. No. The Ministry of Finance, under the circumstances, under the condition, is empowered by law to keep all records of withholding so that when there are issues of audits, they can provide a record to the entities, in the case, provide it to the EPS, so that the EPS provide it to the auditor, or provide it to LRS so that LRS provide it to the auditor. Or if the auditor don't want to take it from that, the auditor can independently go to the Ministry of Finance using the very law that says the Ministry of Finance is the sole withholding agent of the government. Ask them for the records and say, we want to know whether all the payroll that EPS process, whether you did Social Security deduction. And if you did Social Security deduction, can you show all the records? The Ministry of Finance will expeditiously, because they have the record, they will provide those records to the GAC for the GAC to do third-party verification. Secondly, maybe the GSC could get a record from the EPS, meaning the EPS could come to the Ministry of Finance and say the GSC want evidence of our entity paying remitting Social Security deduction to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. And, if the GSC did it and the EPA didn't respond, or the EPA had it in their response, that's a different stuff. But it doesn't in any way say that if Social Security were deducted and by the Ministry of Finance, it should be the responsibility of the head or entity of the EPS, because they are head or entity and they have the employee. In the case, that's how the law works. The law holds the Ministry of Finance responsible to deduct the money and remit the money to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. It's that clarity that we needed to make so that our people get a full understanding. Because many of our people, even though they are not EPS people, but many of them are teachers, many of them are health workers. So if you don't have the clarity that the EPS people need, you also may have that misunderstanding. And we think it is very, very important for our people to have this kind of education so that when they are misinformation about the governance, the personnel governance of a particular entity, they can have a full understanding of what they should expect, what to say, how to say it, so that they cannot be deceived, or they shouldn't be deceived by the very people who think, they understand and they are saying the right thing to them. So that's why the clarity, is needed, for us to provide it to our people. And like I said, because our part of the reform over the past 6 years, I think it is, I consciously feel very, compelled to provide the information, to the more than 60,000 civil servants that are across the country, so that they have a full understanding of what happening to their social security contribution and who did the deduction and who's supposed to remit the deduction, so that they don't create animosity for the former head of entities and say, oh, the former head of entity ate our money and did not remit the money to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. And in terms of the actuality, the Ministry of Finance over the past 6 years actually remitted the Social Security deduction on a monthly basis. If there were any arrears, in my honest calculation, that arrear won't be more than 3 months. In fact, one thing we also need to say very clearly on this show is that before we did the payroll reform, a lot of entities were intentionally miscalculating, grossly understating the Social Security deduction. In some instances, they were not doing the Social Security deduction. That was far before the CDC government took over. And the only reason why that happened, because each of the entities were preparing their own payroll. The payroll was very fragmented. Every agency brought spreadsheet to the Ministry of Finance and said that their payroll calculation, whether the person's Social Security is going to be $200 based on the 4%, and they put $100 there. It was difficult for the auditors, the compliance people at the Ministry of Finance to detect, because most times the process was very manual and that process needed to be corrected. Once we corrected it under the consolidation of the payroll, the centralization of the payroll, and the automation, meaning the automation of the payroll that electronically attached the rate and did the calculation, what we realized was social security deduction that probably used to be around 200,000 per month on all the UP, government, even though we had the same workforce, it tripled to about 600,000 per month, because the real calculation was going on, and the calculation were not manually done as it was done in the past. And that's why you see most people complain about harmonization, even though their salary were not physically reduced in terms of gross, but because the actual Social Security calculation was effected, the actual tax calculation was effected, a lot of people felt, some kind of deduction, even though their gross salary didn't reduce, and that's how they place some of the blame, on the reform. And it's the same reform, it's the same system that the current rescue mission is still implementing.
Wow. But why? I don't know, but I don't know what this issue. I use this guy on the team to really explain to the harmonization and stuff during the campaign, because you really I mean you really explaining, get a whole good explanation about the whole process here, about the whole social security, because is now I see the other report. I see the reason why you really, like you said, you felt compelled to respond to that particular segment in the other report from GSC. You explained a lot there tonight, and I'm sure you guys will be asking some questions. But I'm telling you, the Francis, now I know why you're one of the best in the macroeconomics policy area there at the finance ministry. In fact, you were there for quite a while, and then you explained the whole social security process, which is understandable. But I will give before I let people come with his question. So in essence, from 2006 to 2017, the UP government they did not they were still following the law, the PRC law, that certain security institutions were exempted. So when you guys took over,
That was
when
the
you,
law at the time. That was the
yeah,
law at the time. So they couldn't do anything.
yeah. So when CDC took over, CDC and said no, security pool
Yeah.
will be okay. I see. People, come with your question.
Oliver Francis, good to see you. Let me ask you, what specific on this audit report that you think the auditing bureau has heard and that is inaccurate and don't believe that it was done right? What specific area?
Good question.
So I have that specific area in my post, and it's needed the assertion that the EPS was non-compliance, or they didn't remit Social Security, or that were deducted from employee to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. It was in the responsibility of the EPS director at the time. It was in the responsibility of the EPS management at the time, because the law squarely put that responsibility on the Ministry of Finance as the sole withholding agent of the government for Social Security and for tax. And the Ministry of Finance has the architecture, which is the information technology architecture. They have the mechanism to make sure that happens, and they did. And actually, the remittance was done to Social Security. So if the auditor went in and needed records, and the records were not provided by the EPS, the auditor probably should have gone to the Ministry of Finance and asked, send the Ministry of Finance is the withholding. But for all of that to just be in low and say that the EPS did not remit Social Security, when the EPS is by law not required or not obligated to do so, I think there were the lapses, or I would say maybe the coordination that was not well enforced for that lapse to not occur, and to the extent where that particular exception is in the audit finding, and many people are now using it politically to think that the former EPS here actually took money from people and did not remit, which is now becoming a political problem. And probably it has the propensity, because those are security people, to say, oh, they took our money and they didn't repay, made our money. And I think that one of the reasons that compelled me to make the clarification, since in fact I was one of the persons that went to the EPS at the time, because the argument of the EPS at the time was, we cannot do Social Security deduction. In fact, we are a security entity, VIP security. We don't even want our payroll to be on the Ministry of Finance system. We will prepare our payroll. You people give all the money. We will pay our people through the bank account. We told them, no, you can't do it. Your payroll have to be on the system. We have to use the computer software to calculate your Social Security deduction. So the only thing they asked was, okay, what will you do for us? Let's have a general meeting so that we can explain all of these things to our officers, so that they don't see the deduction as a deduction done arbitrarily by us. So they can see the deduction as deduction backed by law and is done by the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. Since I was part of that meeting, I went to the EPS headquarters, to the beyond the executive mansion. I think me sitting quietly and allowing the thing to slip, not talking, I'll be doing the greatest injustice to my conscience, and also to many of the EPA officers that really need the information, to understand what's going on. And the fact of the matter is, their social security deduction are safe. They are with the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation. If anybody feel it's not the case, they can subpoena the Ministry of Finance to provide the checks. An independent fact verification team can go to the Ministry of Finance, can go to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation and ask for the checks that were given to the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation on behalf of the EPF for the deduction and the remittance of the Social Security deduction of the EPA employee from 2019 up to 2023.
Well, Minister Red, thank you for the verification. But my second question here is, are you saying that, so could it be that some information at the National Social Security was not provided to the auditor, or the auditor did not take the time to check with the finance ministry? But it seemed like there may be some information that was not given from the NASCO, did not provide some information. The auditor did not get those information. So it seemed like either the finance ministry or NASCO did not provide some information. Am I right about that?
It depends. It depends whether the auditor went to NASCO to ask. It also depends whether the auditor went to Ministry of Finance to ask. Since the audit was about EPS, maybe they stopped only to the EPS. And since the voucher were not with the EPS, and in fact they couldn't see the voucher, or they asked somebody within the EPS, the person couldn't provide the voucher and check. Maybe out of the urgency of the audit, they didn't generate that additional time to do the third-party verification through MFTP or NASCO to really establish that, okay, if you say you remitted to NASCO, let us go to NASCO and ask NASCO whether they have evidence of you remitting. Maybe if that was done, maybe we'll not be having a conversation, and that particular exception wouldn't have gone in the report. That's for me. I mean, that is my projection on that particular instance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before I bring up Peabody, let me just ask this quickly. So, in other words, if anybody who worked with the EPS in the last three administration, if they have been retired now, you are saying that once they pay into Social Security from 2020 up to now, they're entitled to a check from NASCO, right? That's what you are saying.
Oh yeah. So the way the Social Security law works, especially the current law, they said for you to be entitled to Social Security benefit, you must have contributed 144 months. That means if we deducting from you every month, we should count it, you must contribute 144 months. And you should be born before, I think, 1980 or so, some clause there. So if you did 144 months, the law also said that you'll be entitled to at least 25% of your gross pay as Social Security, pension benefit every month. So if assuming the person that is retiring today, reach the 144 months. So now we need to count from 2019 or 2020 when the EPA got on the system to 2023. So every month, every year having 12 months. So that 12 times 5, 12 times 5 are 60. So in terms of answering your question very adequately, the current batch of EPS people under the new law may not be qualified for the 25% money pension because they haven't contributed 144 months under the new law. But the old law also gave provision for them to get pension. And under the old law is the old law that has what we call the non-contributory pension scheme. So under the non-contributory, what happens is those entities of the government, the paramilitary, the military, that the law allows not to pay Social Security, if they retire, the law provides that the government of Liberia pay their Social Security, benefit to them through the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation through the non-contributory pension scheme. So it's not that, because they never contributed or they haven't reached the money, when they retire, they will not get pension. No. They will get pension under the old scheme because the old scheme is what non-contributory and the government should provide the money. But in the event that the person is now old enough and the person can reach the 144 months, it means if that person retire maybe in 2028, 2029, 2030, and they have reached the 144 months, that person will be entitled to at least 25% of their pay. And let me say this. You know, a lot of people complain and say, oh, the social security money is just so small. It's nothing. It's not anything. The reason why it is the way it is for the current people that are receiving pension benefit is because people that did the social security deduction in the past were not truthful in terms of the deduction. They short exchange the deduction to put money, sufficient money in the pocket of the employee when they were active. So as a result, the social security contribution became minimal. So when they retire today, because they contributed minimally, that's why their pension benefit is the bare minimum that they are receiving. So that problem was corrected when we collapsed the pay. So what happened in the past, the 12 years of Unity Party, they had two payroll, one Liberian dollar, one US dollar. So the US dollar was for allowance people, it was 20% of your gross pay. Is that 20% LD that they used to calculate the social security on, because they say, oh, social security, like Liberian dollar. So for example, if somebody was making $100, you take 20% of $100, that's $20. They convert it to Liberian dollar, whatever amount, and they put a 4% on it and remit that to Social Security. But the person actual pay is $100. You sort of compute 4% on the 100 and take what? The $4 and send to Social Security. But because the payroll process was very manual and people wanted to have more money at a particular point in time, and some people also didn't believe that when they gave money to Social Security, they would get it. All that characterized the intentional miscalculation, the underestimation of the Social Security contribution to Social Security and Welfare Corporation. And that's how today our people who work in the past, their Social Security benefit is so minimum because accountants, controllers, HR in the past deliberately reduce the Social Security calculation. And we at the Ministry of Finance couldn't detect it because the payroll was very fragmented. The payroll came in separate spreadsheets, and nobody had the time to individually do the assessment. But since we have automated it under the reform, it means the computer can do it in 2 minutes, in 3 minutes, in few seconds to see whether those calculations are correct. So now that's why you see the Social Security deduction. When we took over, when we did a reform, it jumped from our estimation, it jumped from 150, $200,000 to almost 600,000 per month, because the calculation is done correctly, it's done on the gross salary of the person, and nobody is exempted from it except the military, which is the AFL.
Huey, go ahead. Huey, you muted.
Sorry. Thank you, Dale. Good to see you again. Good to see you, local. Great, and your thought process with the country. And I do agree with you. Just a closing point just now about the way they calculated the Social Security. I can recall my uncle process of Social Security at the time I took him to get, and I stood there around Tottenham High where he got, like, it was frustrating, around $2,000, $3,000. What can that? Quite frankly, it's good now that the process, the past administration actually through you guys work on the process to push it out. And I just wanted to follow up on one or two before we move on. This report from the GAC, are you challenging the report? Is that correct?
No, but the issue is the assertion by law from the interpretation of the law.
Yes.
I believe it still need to be corrected, and the response of the EPS can confirm it.
Okay.
When the EPS responds to that, they will tell you that, oh, we are not responsible for Social Security. The only reason why I have to come and talk and make a clarification because of the propagandists who are using it to add to other things and make it seem that, oh, several things happen, even to the extent that people were eating government employees' Social Security, or collection. For me,
Great.
that's a wrong optics, and we cannot allow that optic to slide because we We spend a lot of time, energy, and effort on the pay reform, which and the rescue government is using because they haven't changed the system. And we are happy they are using it, even though they criticize it. But that's good. That's for the betterment of the country. We don't have problem with it.
Okay, good. And it's important that, and part of the reason why, and it's necessary sometimes that even that of the institution itself, the EPS or you will have to come out and do that, because part of my reason in focusing on this particular process is to go back to the audit process. If all of the procedure, I don't know how the EPS would also ask them if the entire audit methodology procedure were met in terms of because before you come up with a final audit report, there are audit procedure and audit process. You have to come first and foremost with the planning process, notification, the entry meeting, which is called the open meeting. We have the reporting process, the management response. The EPS will responded basically before you come up with reporting and distribution, final report and distribution of the audit process.
Is this a final report? But normally they have a draft report that the management is supposed to respond to. So before they come up with a final report, because in the draft report, when the management do their response, whatever comment the auditor come up with, the auditor, the exception that the auditor makes will be alter or modified based on the management response.
Absolutely.
So my thing is they report a final report, but if the report is not a final report and it's a leaked draft report, then the propaganda using it means that we also have to come out and say this is not the final, because in terms of the procedure, we have noticed that you cannot hold the person responsible. You cannot shed blame on this person because by law, the person not supposed to do collection. The person not supposed to do remittance. The remittance is done by this person and by law, and that's what the auditor should say. So if it's the final report should establish whether the Ministry of Finance did not remit, even though they collected. So instead of having EPS in our session, they should be having Ministry of Finance there. Even though I work with Ministry of Finance, I can say to you freely, right? That if this is the final report and the auditor can prove that the money was collected or deducted and not remitted, then our responsibility should not be on EPS management. Because by law, it is the Ministry of Finance that do the deduction and the Ministry of Finance that's supposed to do the remittance to Social Security.
Exactly. So, I mean, you just hit the point. That's why we're trying to draw us back to this particular process. Because many times in the GSC, even before the brief time I spent with the GSC or the time we spent, and it's one of the major issues there about supreme audit institutions. You need to follow all of the audit procedure, the guidelines, or the audit methodology, and the rest of that. If this is not the final report, and I want to say if it's not the final report and it was leaked, and again, people using this as a propaganda spree here to do something is totally wrong. It is outside of the audit procedure and the audit methodology. That is totally wrong if it is not. But if it is, because the management response, we have to, after the management response, there's what we call the exit conference.
Exactly.
After the exit conference,
the final report is published.
Then the final report is published. Then people, because it is on the basis of that, the auditor will say you got true professional standard in moving the process forward. I haven't heard that. I haven't seen that. And also, it's but if we didn't go by the Lima Declaration or the Afro-Saudi Declaration and just want to believe, even the Mexico Declaration is clear. We have to follow the procedure and the guidelines, basically moving on. But one of the things quickly, before we move on to my dear brother here, is that our Social Security process needs to be, one of the things I agree with you. It was good that you guys did the reform and the process in doing the appropriate calculations, because if the calculation is not done well, I mean, it's sometimes one would say it is frustrating and totally unacceptable to see someone receiving around maybe $2,000-3,000, where you even to just pay their way from probably balance the estate to go to town to collect the money, you spend almost 50% of that amount before you collect that and other things before. Right now that you're saying there's a process in place to protect all of these things and at least to take it to a level that will be appreciable. I mean, it's very important. But I will want to take key. I will do an advanced investigation in this process to find out how did the audit process unfold. And if this process is just propaganda, we'll have to remove the GSC, those kind of a supreme institution or other institution, we have to remove personal perception and those kind of politics from the process and go back, because this border on people repetition. And as the reason why you're here today to do this kind of a deep clarification and provide additional information to this platform is because of your institution name that you work for, it's on the line. Your own name is on the line. So it's appropriate that you come out and do some kind of professional clarifications and provide more insight for our folks. And it's important that way. So for now, I will stop here, but it's important. That's what I wanted to know too. I will make more follow up to see if those standards were observed, and then we did all of those things, because we will have to, the audit process, we, apart from the analytical aspect of it, we will have to go by the procedure. It's important that we follow those kind of lines. And it caused a lot of problem before in the bureau. Before so now we get audit reports coming out, it's all in the newspaper headline, and some cases folks will come and folks can say, this is not mine, that is not this and that. Right? So let me say to you, while the program is moving, we want to stay on the show, but let me rest for now as we push the program on. But it was wonderful that you came on.
I just wanted to add this to what you said.
Yeah.
I also want to believe that the league report is it may not be the overwhelming support or will of the GAC.
No.
Maybe somebody
Before you come in. Sometimes the league report, I work with the GSC, right? Sometimes the league report can also come from the auditee, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
they can do that to market range the entire process.
So my disclaimer is, I want to believe that this league report, the fact that the league report, I don't think it's even on the GSC website. Because the GSC only put final report on their website after the SA meeting, after the finalization of the report. But the fact that the report was leaked and people want to use it as a propaganda machinery, to erode the success of the power regime, we feel obliged to provide a correction that the way you're saying it is not the right way, is not what happened. Because even if the propaganda was sincere to themselves, they will publish that sheet and publish the management response. But when you look at them, when they posting, they only post what the GSC say in our session. They don't put a management response. The fact that they're not putting the management response gave me the clue that all they are doing, the report lead, they're using it for propaganda. And instead of using it for propaganda, to diminish, to erode, some of the very good work that we have done, which they are benefiting from, which they are using, then we also have to tell the public that this is propaganda. This is not the real way. These are the procedure on which these things happen, and so that the people have an independent or they have alternative understanding. It's up to them today to listen to what I have said. It's up to them to also listen to the Facebook posts and do their own internal analysis and come up with something that will make sense to them, and so that they can render their very, very good judgment. So for me, that report is a league report. I don't think it's the overwhelming, or disclosure of the GAC, the fact that it didn't have the management response, to it.
Lofa.
Well, thank you, Del, for taking upon yourself to do what you're doing. Couple of things that I just need to get clarity on here. I think you also made some comment. You clarified that you acknowledge that this is not the final report because there isn't anything substantial to determine as to whether this is the final report from the GAC. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, if there's a final report, we'll see it on the website of the GAC. We'll see the management respond to the report, and we'll see several other things. You'll have SA meeting and so forth and so forth. If it's just a draft report, yes, you'll have all the accession, and after all the accession, the management respond and they make correction. We haven't seen the management correction, and so yeah.
So with all of those indications, you're also saying to us that all of these things are not in place. One, the management report and the fact that this report is not available on GAC's website, so you're not trying to validate the report. Instead, you're simply here you're trying to counter the propagandist attempt to ruin or erode what you think that you worked for tirelessly through your institution, that is the finance ministry. And you put into place mechanisms that are actually benefiting the current institution or the agency, the finance ministry. So
Yes.
to just do a counter to what
Yeah.
they're doing instead of allowing them
Yeah.
to walk away with it. Okay,
Yeah.
quickly.
So this is like propaganda versus truth telling. So we
Okay.
come here with the truth. So the propaganda is only posted what the audit session was, where. So we are saying, yes, you say the audit session is this, but the audit response from the entity will be this based on the practical procedure in the administration of social security deduction and remittance by law. So this is why we are explaining for the public to have that understanding.
Have to
So our
understand.
actuality is our actuality of the law and application of the law versus their mere propaganda by using just the audit exception, which they want to use because they think when they use it, the public will go against the past regime and so.
Okay, my just in the same context, I want to also make this clarity or just get clarification on this here. The finance ministry, you're telling us that the finance ministry should be the one responding to the audit or the leaked audit report, and it should have nothing to do with the EPS because the EPS did not conduct their own payroll. All of this was actually done through the finance ministry. So you are in possession of every data that may be needed to verify or authenticate any information that is provided here. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the what I'm saying is the GAC should triangulate the evidence of the audit. So the auditee in the case is GAC, and not GAC, but EPS. The transaction in terms of processing is the Ministry of Finance. And the way the particular transaction works, from my experience, when the check is cut, when the voucher are prepared, copy of the voucher are kept with the Ministry of Finance. Unless non-payroll related transaction, non-payroll related transaction, the entity will have copy of the check if that operation check. The entity will also have copy of the check if the check is paid to a vendor. The entity can also request the voucher from the Ministry of Finance to show that supporting documents were attached to that voucher. The entity in the case can also ask the Ministry of Finance for the checks. So my thing is, send a report is a draft report. All of those things are in the process.
Okay.
So what the propaganda should have done, assuming they were very smart, was to wait for the final report, which already laid the basis for the EPS to respond, for the Auditor General to do the triangulation in terms of evidence gathering or information gathering, and successfully prove that, of course, Social Security was deducted and it wasn't remitted. And in fact, Ministry of Finance actually did a Social Security deduction different way, get the money to EPS and EPS didn't. Yeah, they were sort of wait for all that to happen.
Okay. So
So all that didn't happen, and Ministry of Finance actually did it withholding because I know for sure the EPS payroll is on the government payroll system, and the
okay,
calculation is done automatically. The check are printed automatically. So
great.
I cannot know the information and say, oh, I feel good for them to put EPS in the report that they should to provide. And another thing they said in the report, which I need to come to, is the issue of the EPS should enter into agreement with the National Social Security and Welfare Corporation to pay. The first have to be established. And secondly, there's another portion of the Social Security that we need to discuss. Maybe there's a misunderstanding with it. So the employee pay 4% of the 10%, then the employer pay 6%.
Okay.
Before, under the old law, when they when under the PRC decree 14-1, the total Social Security contribution was 7%. The employee were paying, I think, 3%, and then the employer were paying 4%.
Yeah, 3 and 4.
Yeah, 3 and 4, yes. So another new is 10. The employee pay 4, the employer pay 4, and then 2% is paid by the employer for injury. So that 6% is paid, you know. But under the government current dispensation, the government doesn't have the financial capacity to pay the 6%. So over the years, even before CDC, UP government did not pay 6%, which is the employer contribution, or did not pay the 4%, which was the employer contribution at that time. So because they did not pay, the thing that the government did under the Ministry of Finance was to recognize the debt of the employer contribution. So the first calculation was done, I think, before 2012 or 2011. And then the government issued bond, recognize the social security debt, and then tell social security that, okay, they are 4 million or whatever the amount is. We recognize that money that we're supposed to pay you every year, but we didn't pay. So we're treating it as debt to the national government, and we'll be paying over time, and on it. So the social security took that debt instrument and discounted it on the financial market. When it discounted it, it meant that the government needed to be paying interest on the discounted instrument until they pay the principal. So after 2012 to 2017, 2022, we could not also pay the 6%. We also have to issue what we call bond. So the bond we issued from 2012, which was the beginning of UP's second term, to 2022, which was before the election year of CDC, or the 5th year of CDC, we issued that bond. We calculated the outstanding debt, which is the employer contribution. For all the institutions of government, including the EPS, that amounting to $79 million, and is part of the national debt that today UP complaining that, the government carried the debt up. Because we did not pay the 6% for employees, we needed to recognize it as a debt. And when we did a recognition, the GAC verified it, and it's part of the national debt that is today $2.7 billion. So that debt, 79 million of it represents Social Security employer contribution from 2012 to 2022. It also represents about 4 to 5 million from the first term of UP, or governance, or the first time government was in paying. So when you add everything about social security, if I was enough 4 million, it's more than that. If it, probably around 40 now or 30 million. If you add that 30 or 40 million to the 79 million, or the period of 12 to 18 years is in terms of employer contribution, you have to government. So you have to add that to the national debt. But it had a very vibrant budget, very huge budget. It means that every time we budget for paying employees their salary, we also budget a 6% social security contribution of the employer. But since the fiscal space is always small, we always do the accumulation and later recognize it as debt, which was done before CDC, and we also did it to recognize the debt that UP were owing from 2012, including what we also incurred from 2018 to 2022. So that's how the management of the Social Security has been. Recognize it, put it on so that the Social Security can use it as their instrument, go find liquidity, and be able to take care of some of the operation that they're supposed to take care of. Because the private sector paying the 6%. It is only the public sector, the government, that is not paying. So the Social Security gets constrained in terms of liquidity when one big sector of the employment area is not paying, and then one small sector is paying. So it started to put pressure on the Social Security disbursement. So that's how all of these mechanisms came into place in terms of recognizing the debt.
Thank you. Quickly, and my final question here in regards to that, again, I'm not very informed when it comes to the issue of Social Security, withholding, and all of that, but I'm well aware of the fact that you also spoke of it, that unfortunately people are not getting compensated like they're supposed to based on their Social Security, whether it is withholding or just their benefits. It's unfortunate that they're not getting that. Now, do me a favor, give me just gave me an overview of some of the mechanisms that your government or the CDC government put in place that you believe will benefit the those who are going to benefit from Social Security in the not too distant future. What are some of those mechanisms, and how are they going to make sure that those civil servants whose funds were taken out of their account would get paid on time, and they would not have to go through the issue of waiting for months and probably not even getting the pensions or Social Security? What are some of the mechanisms that you thought of that could help, quarantine this entire idea of just not
Yeah,
paying
so
people?
so firstly, we're talking about two types of people. We are
Uh-huh.
talking firstly about the people that have already retired, that are
Right.
receiving the bare minimum,
Mm-hmm.
and in addition to receiving the bare minimum, they are struggling to receive that bare minimum.
Right. Perfect.
Those are the first set of people, and they are
Right.
on the
So,
government not get. So those set of people,
mhm,
over the years, before the CDC, took over, the
mhm,
government itself through the Ministry of Finance was administering the
mhm.
non-contributory pension list. That non-contributory pension list had almost 17,000 people on it. It is a time where you used to go to the Ministry of Finance, you say that the Ministry of Finance, yes, he plenty of people, discounting check, pension check. So the pension check were pension check that belongs to retirees that were not paid through the Social Security because that pension scheme was solely managed by the government. And we thought that pension scheme, how that all goes on it. So the government, through the reform, initiated by the Controller General at the time, Janga and Councilor Anthony Janga Cole, was to turn that payroll over to NASCO. But before turning it over to NASCO, they needed to do biometric hair count. Imagine when they did a biometric hair count, the 18,000 person reduced from 18,000 to almost 7,000.
Wow.
Yes. Because NASCO said we cannot pay people if we don't do biometric for them. So they asked to do biometric. So immediately when they did the biometric, the number came to 76,000. So we said, okay, maybe there's possibility that some people exist, ain't no born. Yeah, they do the second round of biometric, or when people can't complain, they do it. So they did it again. I think the number went to 8,000 or so. So from 18,000 to 8,000 or 9,000, it means you slice the non-contributory pension listing from 18,000 person or 17,000 person to 8,000 person. And who are paying the 18,000 person that UP people are paying them? There was no system in place. There was no biometric. The same way the ordinary payroll was just floating, get a pieces of sheet or pieces of or leaves hanging over the water. That payroll, that pension payroll was looking until we decided to do biometric, and digitize all the people, and all the people after the biometric were done, they open account for them instead of paying check. They open account for them at different banks through the biometric, through mobile money, and other things. So the money was going directly to them. So they didn't not to come to the Ministry of Finance for the check.
Okay.
So that third-party trading that used to happen to Ministry of Finance, where people just used to pack bundle of money. So you go for your pension check, they discount it. It stopped. That entire market, ceased. So that one reform put in place for those
Okay.
people, for them to take pay on time. So the system is better, or we left it better. If the UP want to go and take the people from under NASCO and bring it back, to where it used to be, they can do it because, that one is their issue. Secondly, we were not budgeting for it good because 18,000, the money was difficult to get. So always that when the budget year ending, we'll find way and do it. So there were always lack. So probably in a budget year, instead of paying the people for 12 months, maybe you only pay them 6 months. Because most time when you pay, you will probably pay for 3 months straight. So a lot of people didn't, a lot of people complain, but again, most of the people that were complaining are people who were just encashing, pension check for ghosts. So their complaint was not too stringent, as compared to the real people. So once the list got reduced, proper budgeting began. So today, the budgeting for the non-contributory pension is more viable, is more efficient, is more accurate than it was, on a UP, because it is now controlled by NASCO, and NASCO is saying they will not pay until the government give them money, because they're not going to take private sector pensioner money and give it to government people. Because those people on the non-contributory pension list that they were non-contributory, they did not contribute to the pension scheme. So if the government has no responsibility to do that, so that for the old people, those people that 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that were with government, that were only making like during that $70, $750 and so, those are the people. And we even did assessment and say, given the value of money, what they paying the people, I think because of the civil war, the currency depreciated, which is not the fault of these people. I think the government need to somehow index, this the minimum amount to certain amount that the state need to bear. That assessment was done. It was something about implementation, but then I think we left most of the things in place for UP to continue. And I'm sure UP should continue, because those are the people that really need to rescue. You need to rescue somebody that is only making $750 as pension. The person only making $750 as pension, Liberian, because all the years the person worked in normal days, that was the money they were making. And that money they were making it in US when the US rate was 2 to 1, 3 to 1. So it becomes the responsibility of the state to adjust for inflation, to adjust for depreciation of their currency, so that the men that were 15, 20 years ago in the past normal days can have something meaningful today. That is the responsibility of government, and the analysis are in place for UP to rescue those kind of people and take them to a better height. The second set of people are the people who are currently working. Those people who are working, it becomes our responsibility to say, you know what, we don't want you to experience the same problem these people that work normal day, that work 12 years ago, 18 years ago experience. The only reason why they experience it because they were honest statement, miscalculation of their social security contribution, by just taking only the minimum Liberian adult portion and sending it to social security as the 4%. So we will combine it and take the 4% and allow you to religiously and righteously pay, so that when you get to retirement, you will get a meaningful social security pension benefit that will reflect the actual pay that you're making today, or the actual pay that you make in the next 144 months of your contribution. So that's how the pay reform collapsed pay and took the social security contribution on the gross amount for the person, without just looking at the 20% Liberian that the past government did. So that's how we are preparing the next people for better social security pension contribution or pension benefit. The second thing is record keeping. And we are very clear on record keeping. One of the reasons why people take a lot of time when people get retired and they don't get their social security benefit is because most times the social security don't have their records. The deduction that we do at the Ministry of Finance is gross deduction. So there's single check. That single check will have probably 50,000 on it. That 50,000 actually maybe is for 200 employees of a particular ministry. In terms of the actual practice, Social Security should have 50,000 to the individual 200 employee of that check, which the list was submitted for. But again, it's a manual thing. So what we put in place was to digitize the payroll first, which we did, and to also link the digital payroll with the Social Security system through API connection. So when we did that, the only thing we needed to do was to collect all the Social Security number of all the employees and put it onto our system, and also give to the Social Security so that there can be a direct connection using the Social Security number to connect the individual from the payroll system of the government to the social security system so that when deductions are done, the system can automatically credit people's social security account through the debit of their benefit at the Ministry of Finance. So that refund is in place. We hope that the rescue mission can continue with that reform because it's another way of rescuing people. And they should take it very seriously because some of us, we don't want to retire tomorrow, and we can't get our benefit on time. So we're begging them, let them proceed cautiously, to implement that reform. So that's how we have supported the reform and the betterment of the social security ecosystem in this country for the public sector and for central government, entities.
So Dale, you still with the finance minister? Are
No,
you
no, no,
still with?
no. I'm not there. Yeah, yeah. They asked me to disengage and terminate my contract. So, but I'm okay. Yeah.
Tell Francis, Red. Tell Francis, honestly, right? I don't know why they passed the administration. I don't know why in the campaign. I don't know why they left you out because the harmonization issue, right? What you explained to about Social Security, it's clear that those who have been retired now, they're entitled to benefits. Money is in the system for them. Because based on the software you got put in place, it was able to just figure out the deduction, the 4% that are deducted, and the 6% the employer were paying. And now, and so no one can tell people say, well, you guys, no money was put there for you guys. You have no money yet. Yeah, explain. Now, the boy is in the code of the government, the Minister of Finance, the GAC, whoever conducted this report, to come and clarify. Well, to either debunk what you're saying, or what you are saying is based on facts because you are saying the records are there. You can subpoena the records. It's all by the Ministry of Finance that the deduction took place and was remitted to NASCOP. But my question before I bring quickly before we move on to another stop, the money that was deducted from these people, like in America, other places, when we pay into our 401k, our stuff here, the money we pay into this system is invested. It's used to turn it around for us. They don't just put the money, it's just saying that no. Money is used to increase, But I mean, so the money you guys were taking from the people, these people, it's just sitting now. You guys were like turning it around or investing it to
No,
increase it.
that's by law, the reason why the Social Security was created is to carry out these kind of activities. So the Social Security and Welfare Corporation, they have a whole investment arm. Their work is to take the pensioner money, turn it over so that it has return that is sufficient enough to pay the person when they get retired until they die.
Okay.
So that why people don't take Social Security money lightly. They don't tamper with it. Nobody go and start tampering with Social Security money. The money should be invested in high return investment. Because when somebody get incapacitated or they get retired, it becomes the work of the Social Security to pay them until they die. And even if they die, if they marry, it's the work of the Social Security to pay the wife 50% of what they were paying the person. And even if the wife die, they have a child that is under 18. The law requires that you pay 25% of that money to the child until the child turns 18. So it has a whole, interconnectivity in terms of who benefits from it. So that why Social Security don't take investment lightly. They do it in other countries. I'm sure they do it in Liberia. Social Security has a lot of investment in Liberia, and they're doing a lot to make sure that money is turned over. And that's why a lot of people frown on, the rescue government when the current Minister of State decided to go into the Social Security money and ask the people to back car for the incoming government. That money is, it shouldn't be temporary. Yeah, it's unencumbered. It's not for any government operation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be independent. But that's why the law even provide that the Social Security should not pay tax or taxes on their operation. So even if they did an investment, they make profit from it. They shouldn't pay tax.
Yeah.
The profit should be reinvested so that they generate money to take care of the welfare of the people who work and generated that money for the betterment of their life until they die.
Yeah,
So
they got a lot of,
that's why
property, right?
it is.
So
They got a lot of
so so
property. But
That what,
the one with the LRA junction, the LRA building is owned by Social
yeah, the
Security.
LRA baby, they get
They
they
got
get all
property
out
in
of things
Buchanan
going
and
on.
Lofa
They
and other
just
areas. Yeah.
they
so
get all those things.
So Doug, before Robert, you coming after the question, right? Robert Gagwa, welcome. So Doug, if I call Dewitt tomorrow, the Social Security boss, and I asking that, say, from the last 6 years, money was remitted to your entity through the Ministry of Finance from the 170 entities under the government.
107, 105 entities. Yeah.
107 entities under the government of Liberia that finance that you guys in the payroll. You think
Yeah, Ministry of Finance. Yeah.
DOH should be able to tell me that the money is there for them, that you guys send money there, it's there.
Oh yeah, he will give you the record, and wherein he cannot give you a record, he will tell you where we did not pay.
Okay.
But in my assessment, where we didn't pay before we left is now more than 4 months.
Okay.
Because we're paying regularly regularly paying the contribution. Because
Why
Social
you
Security
didn't
is
pay for the
Why
4
did
always
not
months?
pay for 4 months?
Was there any reason why you didn't pay
Was
for
there
the
any reason? Right. Good question.
no. So I say if it happened, right? It will not be for more than 4 months because you have timing. So normally when the government payroll, they have to put all the Social Security checks together.
Yeah, because there was some information also
reconciliation
I got there about, like, for instance, the current commerce minister. He paid, you think, a premium up to almost 23,000. He didn't pay the Social Security. The current commerce minister, and I brought this the last on the show, but the guy didn't want to go more deep.
He didn't pay as well as government employee.
No, but his entity,
He didn't pay
he owned
no. Yeah, so that's private sector.
Private sector.
On the discussion, we're not talking about private sector.
We're talking
Private
about the
sector have a different vehicle. Yeah, we're talking about central government. Even in government, we're not talking about the entire government. We're not talking about LPRC. We're not talking about
spending
MPA.
entities, the 107
We're talking about
entities.
central government entities under the national budget. Where the Ministry of Finance control their payroll. Those are the people that we're talking about.
Okay.
So, yeah, so in our case, yeah. And then,
so Robert,
when the government prepare the payroll, you see that they don't pay the Social Security for that 1 month, 2 months, and then the following month they will pay because they have to put the document together. Otherwise, it's not even more than 3 months, and so. Because the Social Security amount is always budgeted because the budget is the compensation budget.
maybe that only thing Mama Kamara saw he said me check yeah.
Yeah, but that typical Terry over there, that typical Terry,
Mama Kamara said what?
See, I ain't about to get gray hair and low.
No, the Finland is a very difficult area. It was a difficult terrain to see, though.
The
demands are too much.
On this topic, I want to ask the man about Haman as before we let him go.
Thank you. And I apologize for being late. Let me ask you, I got 2 questions. The first one is, you said that they told you to disengage. You sound like a really well-informed guy on this topic, and you, in any other country, you will be considered, without the politics, someone who the Ministry of Finance can really take a lot from, and in return, the country at large. You said they asked you to disengage and terminate your contract. Who are they?
The Ministry of Finance, of course. The Ministry of Finance, I don't like to say this, but I mean we have to say it. The fact that we supported the Congress for Democratic Change, and they saw us as not being in the interest of the rescue mission. Even though we had legitimate employment, they terminated it. It's a struggle to go to lawyers, to fight the government. The fact that the government terminate you on wrong basis, on illegal basis that need to be validated by the court for you to go through all of those hurdles is a manifestation that they don't have confidence in you. So it's a waste of time to even say you want to be in the midst. Because when you're in that midst, if anything go wrong, you will be the first suspect. And also professionally, you may be looked down upon. People who you tutor may become supervisor and tell you, okay, so for my, my own professional mental stabilization or stability, I think, I really don't have problem with it, even though it was done illegally. It is what it is. UP Rescue Mission, they are now turning the civil service into a tenure position, which means whenever new government comes, the people that they will be from maybe 2024 to 2029, they will do all the honor the way UP doing from 2019 to 20. And if your employment fall within 2018 to 2023, they start looking for problem on you, how you came in, who hire you, how you got hired. Some of the reasons why they dismiss around 200, 300 person at EPS, at the Executive Protection Services, and dismiss a lot of people under the disguise of people not having pen, under the disguise that some of the people were employed in 2023, under the disguise that incompetent people were employed. So, I mean, for me, that is the picture in the civil service. UP tactics, as it is making the civil service to be a tenure position, which is not the case. But tenure position, I mean, a tenure for the presidential term. Because if Boaga lead another government can and say they want to follow the tactics of the Unity Party, it means they will start auditing the Unity Party civil service record from 2024 up to 2029. And if they find people that were employed, they can find fault on them and say, we also, you didn't come in the railway, you came in, but your attendance record was very poor, which they are doing. And so that is a very different discussion because there are a lot of evidence on what they are doing, how they're doing it, how they're targeting, and a different way they're getting rid of people because those people are not partisans of the Unity Party.
Thank you. Is it fair to say, and I don't want to waste the other guy's time because I came late, but is it fair to say that the Social Security program in Liberia, is it fair to say that it's a complicated program and it's one that without the proper structure, right? Uh, Short term will prove to be ineffective. Is it fair from your financial and while you answer that question,
Is it fair to say what? Let me get a keyword.
is it fair to say that it's a complicated program, and without the proper structure or system, that for the short term is ineffective?
Well, I mean, the Social Security program has been evolving over the past several years. Before the war, yeah, maybe it was good because the population was small, the workforce was not the way it is currently. Record keeping was, even though it was manual, but because it was small, record keeping was perfect. Uh, After the war, a lot of record got missing, especially for the public sector. The public sector just recently, I mean, if I say recently, I mean, when we introduced the IFMI system, before we started to keep records, that is like, say, in 2008, 2009, when we introduced the IFMI system, whether it's 2010. So now we can track financial record from 2010 up to 2023 or 2024 June. Is in place keeping record. And most of the public sector records are on the IFMIS system. So, in terms of perfection, I cannot tell you that the social security system is perfect. The first thing, one of the reasons why it is not perfect, there is no direct relationship electronically between an employee in the public sector and the social security system. I say this to you, Lofa, who asked the question? Robert, assuming you were employed with the Ministry of Finance and they are deducting money from you, the only relationship between you and the Social Security is between the Social Security and Ministry of Finance. That direct relationship where, yes, you have your Social Security number, they should credit your account. We try to establish it by making sure that everyone that works in the central government has a Social Security number that is placed on the government payroll system. I think that process is also part of the new process of several things that the current Director General, who is always in the press, is doing. Is to get a social security number, put it onto the payroll, and then when you have that number, our idea was when you have those numbers, you make sure that the social security payroll system, pension system, electronically communicate with the government payroll system. If that happens, it means that within a matter of days, or 1 day, 2 days, whatever it is, if I get paid today and they cut the social security check, as the social security is picking all the check and sending it to the central bank for clearing, the amount on that check, if it represents 10%, including Robert social security account will be credited. Because Robert now has 2 accounts. His debit account is a payroll account. The debit his payroll account for 4% of his pay, which is $100, is $4. Now $4, the credit should go to a social security account. Currently, under our current jurisdiction, that is done manually. And because it is done manually, the accuracy, the efficiency, the speed.
I think his network is acting out. Because the reason why I asked that question, Tomalin, is that it seemed like the Social Security program, I mean, it's just for people who works in the government. I mean, they are the only ones who are employed. Almost 85% of the entire country are unemployed, and so these programs don't really benefit, like the masses, the poor folks. These are just privileged, well-connected people. Even at that, it still have proved to be kind of ineffective for them who
No,
benefit.
my man, you can say that one. Yeah, the program is not perfect. You cannot say the program only for privileged people. The program has couple from the Firestone rubber plantation that have retired and are regularly receiving their benefit.
I'm talking about
The
unemployed people. I'm not talking about those people. Those two
nobody,
are
nobody
those
Dale,
two.
what you are
program.
trying to say, Dale, you are trying to say people that are unemployed.
I'm talking about unemployed people. That's what I'm saying.
And
So
he's correct. Our social
I'm
security
not
system
talking about. I'm not
does
talking
not
about
target
employed people.
unemployed people.
What I'm saying
Oh
is
yes, but
for the
But,
Social
but,
Security
but,
program to
but in
be
America,
effective.
But even in America, how does Social Security target unemployed?
you gotta pay.
Oh,
You
you
gotta
have
pay.
to
They sing also you have to work to
you have
get
to
to
work.
get
Yeah,
it.
you have to work to
yeah,
get
so
Exactly. You
Social
have to work
Security.
to pay. And so
you
if
have
you're
to
not
work to be part
working,
of it.
if you're
But
not
no,
working,
Robert,
exactly
the way you
my
put
point.
it, the way you put it is as though they should take care of those that are not employed.
Those that are not employed. No, I don't think that's how
My
Social
man,
Security
you
No,
works.
no,
can
no,
work.
no, no.
You
What I'm
can.
saying is,
You,
hold on. That what Francis was exactly. That's what Francis
yeah.
exactly.
So
So
you can wear CWA uniform when you're not registered with CWA.
No.
You can't
That's
do
the
that one.
sleepless where you can do that.
For you to wear CWA uniform, you have to be in CWA.
No,
yeah,
Yes.
but
but
see,
but
So
but but in order,
well,
but
Robert,
you have to be able to afford CW to begin with,
no.
right?
But another thing that Social Security does that also have external positive externality is when Social Security invests into housing infrastructure.
Yes. Everybody
Some of the
benefit.
people who are not working benefit from the housing infrastructure.
Yeah.
Social
Like
Security
what they have in Lofa.
has a Social Security has a Ahmadiyya hospital.
Yeah.
So people who used to go Ghana to do all the checkup and everything, they cannot do it to I know what is hospital to EWA need. So it
They
reduces
have
their
a dia, they have
expenditure
a
in
dia
terms of
clinic.
transportation. Exactly. That one where the overhead is. So a Social
Yes.
Security decide to they also do corporate social responsibility for communities that they are in. That's the
They
extent
got a
to
lot
which
of
they can
apartments in
benefit
the
poor
Kenneth Grand
people.
Bassa County.
Yeah,
And
but
then
those
those who
Exactly.
are benefiting from that also. Yeah.
but for instance, before let me close on the note. What all I'm saying is, and
Mhm.
I agree, I understand the impact Social Security can have on the entire country, but until we expand that and the government creates an environment where majority of the people can go out there and find jobs, small or big jobs, then again you limit that kind of benefit for folks, right? So imagine if we had an employed population of maybe that's 65% or 80% outside of government. Imagine the kind of impact that Social Security can have, right? Not just from a government perspective, but generally. So
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
great program. The ideas are great, but again, the government have got to ensure that have jobs for people to go out there and be able to work and pay into that investment or that trust fund Social Security. Thank you.
Yeah, well, welcome.
Guys, if you're not talking, please mute yourself. We got noise coming in the back. Just mute yourself if you're not talking.
Yeah, well, welcome, Telvi. Telvi, I mean, before we move on, you have a question for Mr. Greg. So Francis, Telvi, on the
Howdy. Well, I have lots of questions and I have comments. I've been following the show. For somebody who was in audit for a very long time, audit's always been my first love. I of course I couldn't help but come on to speak to some of the good things and some of the myths I'm hearing. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, ask me a question. Go ahead. Question. You have a question?
So I guess to establish the foundation, I want to find out, Mr. Red, thank you for taking your time to be here most of all. We certainly appreciate you. Have you been, I know you've been a focal point for payroll reform or something along those lines, but have you been a primary point of contact on it for an agency that's being audited before?
No. So there has been a general payroll audit of the entire payroll, done by the GAC in 2022. The essence of that audit was to establish.
No. That's not the question. The question is, have you been a primary point of contact for audit or a firm or agency or entity that's being audited? That was the question.
So I've been a point of contact for entities of the payroll, not single entity, but all the entities that were put together, the payroll system.
For payroll. So you've been a point of contact for
the payroll
payroll.
System. Yeah, payroll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason, and I asked that, I'm glad you've been a point of contact for audit or an agency that's being audited. So you understand that before, when the auditor comes out or before they come out there, they send our document request or they send request for information. And so part of that request for information is what we're talking about now, that they requested payroll information or deduction or withholding, whatever we want to talk about that for the EPS. EPS was the agency that was being audited. So they had a document request, regardless of them interacting with third party, fourth party, second party, which case in point, Ministry of Finance, they were the entity that was being audited. So if Ministry of Finance was the one doing the deduction, whatever it is, they were the one being audited. The staff there, they're the one being audited because they were the ones they were taking the withholding from or the deduction, whatever terminology you want to use. So I did hear you mention that, the auditor should have gone to Ministry of Finance or whatever it is. Now, whoever on that audit, they were point of contacts. Yeah, I will hope that Mr. Dewey or whoever else, but they were point of contacts for the audit. So if they're remitting that money or if finance is withholding that money, it is the responsibility of EPS to get that document request for finance and give it to the auditor within the specified time frame. It is not the auditor's responsibility to walk from here to finance, go down rabbit holes everywhere to gather the evidence. Everywhere, whether America or whether Liberia, because I've audited both places. It is their responsibility because they are the one that's being audited. So they should have remitted that information to the entity so they can write it as something that they have. Now, they didn't, to the best of our knowledge, because and I want to agree with you that report that is circulating is not a final report. I agree with you on that. It is not, and the reason I'm saying that is that, yes, a final report would have management recommendations, but I've also seen in my career that final report do not have to have the management response in there. It can be a separate document. So you can have it both ways.
You have to have it. There will have to be a management response in the final report.
No.
That's a standard. No. Madam, with all due respect, no. That's a standard.
Okay, I'm speaking
right. Have to be there.
Listen to me.
Go ahead. I just thought to bring about that.
They have to have it, but it doesn't have to be part of the final report. You can have it both ways. The auditing standard said there must be a management response. They didn't say that it must be part of the final report. So I agree with you that that is not the final report because it doesn't have a management response. I agree with you that but I also would not throw away that that is not a draft report because I don't think someone just sat down and just wrote that just to incriminate somebody, or I know they're politicizing it, but I think there's some element of truth to the extent where that is a draft report. Now it could be a first draft, it could be a second draft, it could be a third draft, but it's a draft. So I don't want us to throw it out there. What I also don't want you to, I keep hearing over and over that, oh, well, EPS is not responsible for this. EPS is the responsible party. They should give that information to the auditors. And then my question to you, you're saying that the previous government, and I don't want to say CDC government, but the previous government remitted about 600, and keep me straight if I miss the numbers, but about 600 every month in remittance to finance. You want to tell me you have that information, but the point of contact for the audit at EPS didn't have that information to give it to the auditors?
Guys, if you're not talking, I'm sorry. Please.
So that's no question to you. And the follow-up to that is, since you have that information,
Madam,
I'll let you to that.
I want to just say, you still come up with a follow-up. I want to just say what you just said, right? Because people that are listening, I want them to be in connection. Mm-hmm. Firstly, let me say,
Telvina.
Yes, Telvi. Mm-hmm. My comment on the audit section is not that they shouldn't have given the information to the auditor, or EPS shouldn't have given the information. When the auditor put in the report that the EPA did not remit, and it is not the EPA responsibility to remit.
Exactly.
Then we need to clarify. If the auditor has said that they requested for information on whether the money was remitted and there was no information provided by the EPS, it's a different thing.
No. So that's how you want the auditors to write? But if there was a document request.
The exception that the auditor requested, say, okay, you said you remitted Social Security, audit remitted Social Security for you. Through the Ministry of Finance. Can you show evidence that you remitted Social Security? And then the EPS did not give the document. The audit exception, if the audit exception has said that no documentation on audit remittance, without saying that the EPS did not remit. Yes.
Okay.
That's
so
two different things.
So I get what you're saying.
No, you get the point, right?
No, well, listen, I get your point, but I disagree. And the reason I'm saying this is that the auditors can only write based on what they see, what they see and what they analyze. And so if they requested information, give me a second. If they requested information and that information was not remitted, that means you didn't do it because there's no evidence to substantiate. There's no artifact to substantiate that. Now, the point of contact can come back and say, you know what? This is it. And that's where the management response comes into play. They say, you know what? This is it. You never asked us or whatever it is. But if I'm auditing your entity, and I would base an opinion based on what I see and what I didn't see. So you can drive the conversation.
So madam, read the audit section, right? It says non-remitting of Social Security contribution.
I read that yesterday.
Yeah, they said that this is
because there's no evidence to substantiate that.
I think
so
you missing the boat. I don't know.
You must say saying the same thing. But if you put it square, listen now. Tell me. Go ahead. I know you have passion for auditing, right?
Not passion. I've done it all.
Yeah, but you're trying to misinterpreting something here.
So
I'm speaking now. You have your chance.
No, but you misinterpreted. You misinformed the public.
Excuse me.
You can be an auditor.
The floor.
No, but we're correcting you. You don't misinform.
Tell me.
You don't do that with some of the people that are working on other institutions. And that's what I'm talking about.
I've worked
Jerry.
there and I've been done with it.
No,
Jerry.
but no, but you continue to slip.
Okay, me chance. Okay,
And you want to slip and be proud of slipping.
Pee-wee,
Go
just
ahead.
wait for your chance. Okay?
No, I wasn't my chance. That's
Jerry,
not to correct you. Go
Jerry,
ahead.
Jerry,
Wait for your time.
No, okay, go
Jerry,
ahead.
Jerry.
Go ahead, Del. Go for your time.
In much that I agree with you partially, I'm also making this point, right?
Okay.
I agree with you. When the auditor requests for information, the auditing entity is on obligation to provide the information. The auditing agency is on obligation to provide the information. If the auditing entity don't provide the information, that means there's no proof of payment.
And I will write my report based on what I have.
Yeah. So then the issue is, in the audit session, it shouldn't come up with statement that says nothing happened at all, because there's no proof that nothing happened. Because if the auditor puts say non-remittance of social security contribution, it's a bold statement that nothing was paid.
Of course. So then you have to provide the active fact that something was paid. Because you know what it's based on? You know what a bold statement is based on? It's based on evidence. It's based on review of what was available. So if you are counting that, then you need to provide the evidence that it was remitted. But based on the review and based on the analysis, it wasn't, and so that's why they made an affirmative statement.
Okay, I agree. Okay,
and it's you to prove otherwise.
Impartially agree with the affirmative statement. There where the management response comes in.
We both agree.
So, yeah. So in the absence of the management response, which is not in the report, right?
But it's a draft. We both agree it's a draft, right?
Yeah, we agree it's a draft. So my thing is, I'm not so much on the auditor not doing what it's supposed to do or blaming the auditor. I'm saying the report, the fact that it's incomplete and it needed management response like we are doing today. Politicians should not use this as propaganda to come up with conclusion.
I agree with you on that.
That's what I'm on air.
I certainly agree with you on that.
This, and the rest of it.
I agree
I'm not saying I'm not saying the audit process was flawed. No. I'm saying we cannot use the conclusion. We cannot conclude on this on the basis of propaganda, because this is not a final report. We don't have the management response.
I agree.
That's what I'm saying tonight.
I think where I disagree when you were removing EPS from the
no, I'm not removing EPS. I even said if the auditor wants fully establish the fact, it's the auditor's responsibility to triangulate the information gathering given the circumstances beyond the transaction. This transaction is a third-party transaction, unlike other transaction. It's a third-party transaction.
I agree with you.
No,
responsibility.
No.
So walk all over the place for evidence.
No. But you first have to wait. Let me complete before you disagree. I ain't even saying what I say. You say you disagree. So you already imagine what I come and say.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm saying to you, this transaction is a tripartite transaction. Tripartite in a sense that I am the entity that have my employee. But the law says for me to be in compliance, the third-party Ministry of Finance should ensure that when I submit my payroll, they carry out the deduction. They don't give me the check. They remit the check to NASCO independently. Right? So if that is the case, my thing is, even though I'm not forcing the auditor to do what they're supposed to do, I'm saying before we reach that conclusion, let us calculate the evidence gathering to make sure that, okay, we are NASCO, we are Ministry of America, nothing. Then we can form with a conclusion and do whatever propaganda we want to do with it. That was the basis of my statement. So, I'm not trying to circumvent the audit steps. No.
Okay. So let me ask you a follow-up question that I wanted to ask you before you respond. And thank you for your response. So through this deduction process, do you not think that every month or however way or every 2 weeks, whatever way to do the deduction, don't you think that EPS had a copy of that transaction or the monthly transaction for their own records that they could give to the auditor? Even if they couldn't give it to the auditor, for their own records, their own internal audit process or their own internal process, don't you think they kept a copy? as best practice?
No, they do have the draft payroll, right? So this is how the payroll process works. EPS has about several hundred employees. So Ministry of Finance paying EPS every month will send the draft payroll to EPS and ask EPS to look on the payroll and carry out their administrative action, whether changing people, whether doing deduction to people pay, all the different things. And then when EPS does that, they send the correction to Ministry of Finance, and will effect the correction. The voucher is printed by the Ministry of Finance after EPS gives the approval. When the check and the voucher are printed and processed, the copy of the voucher remain with the Ministry of Finance. Only the check go to the check. In fact, the check doesn't go to the EPS. The check directly go to the commercial bank with a list of the EPS employees. So when it happens that way, EPS only work on our payroll is to say, okay, the payroll okay for processing your pay. That also does not exclude EPS from getting the soft copy or the check from Ministry of Finance for their own record keeping.
Or a monthly report for the record keeping, which of course I know they have.
So if in the EPS management respond, they cannot respond to this, then we can conclude that probably they didn't adhere to the audit principle of getting the information to the people, to the auditors. But we cannot establish that until EPA respond or EPA do the extra. So the extra will mean they will go to Ministry of Finance, ask Ministry of Finance for all the checks, or they go to NASDO and NASDO all the checks and present to the auditor for the auditor to remove the exception from the draft report. But politicians are not waiting for that, but they're taking the draft report and propagating it as propaganda to make it know that the EPA authority
pay the money. That's unprofessional.
Yeah, Del, as a follow-up also to the process, when GSE is not conducting an audit as just ordinary audit institutions. They're trying to put into place. It is a supreme audit institution, and they have to put into place all of the necessary guidelines. Now, during the entry, which is
I didn't want to see how it flow. I'm thinking with my question.
Madam, 1 minute, please. Madam, 1 minute.
No, but I had a flow. You interrupted me.
During the entry conference, if it is a tripartite audit process, you will have to seek information from, and that's why the Ministry of Finance is a statutory institution.
I agree with you.
And the audit process is so you
it can be done in isolation with the Ministry of Finance.
It will have to come from the Ministry of Finance.
The thing about it is that that's why you have.
It is based on the evidence and analytical procedures. That's what we refer to it.
Okay, so we're not talking audit process here. I have the floor, so let me speak, and then you can come after the audit process.
Okay. So we ask the last question. So I will ask now.
Move on.
Let me ask one last question because you have your chance. Give me a break. So
go ahead.
I will ask you, Mr. Rep, thank you for
the only woman on the show. She not easy, the woman vibrating you.
Of course. You have your chance, right? No, I'm just joking. Don't worry about it. But on a serious note, I know you mentioned that you're fully aware that the previous government remitted about 600 monthly or quarterly, whatever.
No. Now I said. Let me tell you what I said.
Now I said, correct me if I'm wrong. I heard the numbers.
Let me correct you before you come up with your comment. I said because of the reform we carry out with the entire Social Security process. By making sure the payroll was consolidated, the payroll was centralized, and the payroll was automated to the extent that the rightful Social Security rates were applied. It increased the Social Security deduction that used to be around 150 to 200,000 under the previous government, meaning the UP government before they left, to about 600 or 700,000 every month under the CDC government.
But we say the
institutions. No, I'm saying the sitting when you say under there, you say 600 under, that means you transposing the evidence. You sending the group out the evidence to the previous.
No, but previous CDC government. Previous CDC government.
Oh, okay, but maybe previous.
Previous CDC now. We're not.
No, but in the case, the current government, the current government also doing the same 600 because the system is still in place. But before
CDC,
was doing 200.
Regardless of the amount, 4%, 600. Let's establish the fact here. Let's establish let me ask you the question. Since you have that information, and you've been writing and you came here to talk, we can just go off on the talk just to talk. We need active fact, we need evidence to support it. Since you have that information, can you provide that evidence?
The evidence is on your
I'm
not asking you, Pee Wee. I'm asking the guest.
No, I'm not talking. I'm not talking.
No, I was the one. I was
just respond. That's my question to the guest. Yes, respond.
Tell me. I come here as someone who has been focused for payroll for 6 years. Secondly, I come here with an in-depth understanding of the payroll and pension system. Third, the way government information system works.
Confidentiality.
Is not private. I can tell you about 600,000 and you expect me to have the 600,000 checks or voucher on me to show to you. No.
It's not
the
possible.
Ministry of Finance has it. So that's why I also said on the show, if we want to do fact finding with a third party, maybe because if myself go there and say, oh, I said something, oh, I want you to give me checks for me to prove it, they'll say, no, my man. Who asked you to go talk? You're not in our government. So somebody with a third party background can go there and say, oh, they say this happened. Can we see all the contributions that you've been giving to NASCO? They can go to the Controller General of the Controller General has record. And the Controller General by law can present that record. They can also go to NASCO. Record. Better say they can go on the website of NASCO as a financial person that have done financial engineering analysis. Check NASCO financial statement. The notes to the NASCO financial statement. You will see the contribution, Social Security contribution, they get public sector, central government, private sector, so. See the private sector contribution for the past 6 years, compare it to 6 years before. That would be the independent verification, even if you didn't go to the Ministry of Finance. But for me to come, they start putting check up, I put voucher up.
No. The idea was not for you to put checks and voucher up.
But you must show evidence.
So, no, want to say evidence? Okay, so we can move on, but let me clarify that. I heard somebody saying that's private information. Deduction, a report that shows deduction, you should mention it. It can be on the government website. It can show a lump sum amount. Well, listen now. It can show a lump sum amount. What America or Liberia, it will show a lump sum amount of this is the amount of deduction that's taken from an employee for this agency or whatever it is. So that is not confidential information.
Okay.
It's not showing individual names and not showing the payroll. It's showing a statement of deduction.
To some extent,
we can move on.
You're asking for evidence to his claim that he's making here, and he's telling you that, hey, I'm not here to provide you detailed evidence of what I'm telling you is what I'm aware of as far as transaction and my involvement with the agency as to what transpired. As per what is in this leaked audit report, he's simply saying the verbiage that is being used is misleading. He's not saying the auditor did anything wrong.
The verbiage is not misleading. The verbiage is not misleading. The verbiage is based on what the auditors had on hand. It is not misleading. It's based on what the auditors had on hand, and that's what the media analysis with.
Well, if you say
how sure are you that what they had on hand is valid?
Yeah, be so simple.
So tell me, if you would, will you agree then that not a dime was remitted from EPS?
You want me to answer that? When I go talk audit, I will send you a document.
No, actually, no.
I'm asking you a question.
I'm not asking when you conduct. I'm asking as to whether you believe.
There is not, based on the review of the auditors, there was not evidence or evidence to substantiate that there was a deduction. And I'm hoping that the management response will prove otherwise.
Do you believe? I'm gonna ask my question again.
No problem.
Do you believe there wasn't a dime remitted from EPS?
Again, based on the evidence provided and the analysis.
No, but do you believe?
Now, this is why he's telling you the verbiage. Exactly. This is why he's telling you the verbiage.
Otherwise.
So, Tavina, this is why he's telling you the verbiage used is misleading, and that's why he's here to make clarity. It's misleading because you cannot make
clarity. It is not misleading because it was based on what the professionals were provided to the professionals. It is not misleading.
But how do you know what was provided to
how do you know it's misleading? So
how do you know what was provided and valid? How do you know what was provided?
It was misleading?
You know it.
How do you know it was misleading?
You know it is misleading because the procedure they are going by is wrong.
What procedure?
Is wrong. That's why you know it's misleading. The wrong.
Okay, guys, we gotta guess continue. Let guess continue.
But what procedure is wrong? Which procedure is wrong?
Okay,
Which procedure is wrong? So it's misleading.
Which procedure is wrong? The auditor made an assertion based on what was provided to them. Which procedure is wrong?
That's what you believe. That's what you believe.
But that's what
They may have intentionally. They may have intentionally misinterpreted that.
What's wrong? What are you stating on?
Intentionally is something else.
What are you stating on?
The basis of what the auditor provided, what the auditor is. It's not clear.
So
the intent is misleading. It's misleading.
So they have a
Okay, the Francis, y'all make progress.
To prove otherwise. It doesn't mean it was wrong. It was based on what was provided to them. And
let me ask a question.
And we both agree upon, me and Mr. Ray agree upon that. And that's why you have the management response for them to take a second pass to say, okay, maybe this was an oversight. Maybe we didn't provide this to you, but here it is now. It doesn't mean it's wrong.
No, but you can't. But tell me, hold on. No, I think you're contradicting yourself. You can't simply say that the procedure is not wrong based on what was provided to them. Have you ascertained what was actually provided to them?
And that's
factual. Okay, so excuse me, Robert. Let me answer your question. Have you ascertained what was provided to them for you to conclude that it was wrong?
No. I'm not saying that, but he worked in the Ministry of Finance. So again, if he's coming out here and saying, that the verbiage was misleading, he's saying that based on his own personal experience.
No. That's not what he said.
It is the last leak report. Read the report, Robert.
Then they have to come out to say, you know what? Well, maybe this is what was provided. Here are the facts, but you asking him to present facts when again he's saying those folks who did the audit misled or the verbiage is wrong.
It's not misleading because it's based. He cannot.
But you don't know what was provided to them.
It was provided to them. What was provided to them? That's what they made an assertion on. That's what it is. And if the agency see otherwise, that's why they have the management response to give a second opinion or to provide additional evidence. You cannot say, well, it is wrong. Mr. Red was not even there to know what was provided. He's going off to say, well, initially he said, well, the EPS will not be audited. A few minutes later, he said, well, it's a triangle process. So
no, I didn't say the EPS will not be audited, madam. I didn't say that one.
But yes, you said that they can go to the Ministry of Finance. You said they can go to the Ministry of Finance.
No, madam. I said, given the nature of this audit, there are two the kind of transaction in Liberia. There are transactions in which the Ministry of Finance gave you money for you to go spend an account for.
Yeah.
That one, the auditor may not necessarily go to the Ministry of Finance. You have to provide record on how you spend it. I'm saying a particular transaction on payroll is implemented through third party.
And that's the Ministry of Finance.
If our auditor, for me to reach any conclusion, I will make sure I triangulate the evidence gathering.
Absolutely. Yes.
So how do you know that they didn't request the evidence from EPS?
Based on the narrative
no,
in the
if they requested from EPS, and then
Robert, they made a conclusive statement based on the information I provided to them.
So are you also saying that they may request? Are you saying they may request from FANA? They may request from NASCO?
Okay, Mr. Red. When you are auditing your agency, that's why I ask if you be a primary contact on the audit.
But there's not an audit. There's not an audit. There's not a normal ordinary transaction.
Listen.
Tell me, there's not a normal ordinary transaction where the Ministry of Finance gave money and you spend it by yourself. The Ministry of Finance is paying on your behalf.
The document request goes to you. And you have to go to your third party, your fourth party, your second party, if it involves them.
Okay, so if the document don't come, you don't say no remittance, you say no document available to show proof.
Based on that review, there was no remittance. If it was provided, they should have said it otherwise. It wasn't provided.
So you can move to the next
question. Anyway, that's symmetric. We'll move.
Okay, Mr. Okay, the Francis. Okay, one of the issue before let you go. I want to talk about this harmonization. The harmonization people said that from based on what you explained to tonight, right? It seems as though the harmonization what the best thing, because when you guys, from what I gather, when you guys took over, you inherited a situation where people had two separate payroll. Two separate payments, US dollar and Liberian dollars. Okay, and the harmonization for what they used during the campaign, and to be honest with you, I heard people in Liberia saying, "You harmonize my pay, we harmonize your vote." So just in 5 minutes, just break down the harmonization stuff that when you guys took over, what you guys inherited, and why you guys had to do the harmonization.
Firstly, let me say to the listening public, especially the civil servants, across the length and breadth, of this country, and also their families that are in, different parts of the world are listening to the show. The UP campaign on harmonization with deceit. The deceit on harmonization is the government cut your pay. The government reduce your pay. They harmonize your pay. And the reason why they harmonize your pay is because they brought in 25,000 sedition. That was the deceit on which the UP campaign. And they say, as soon as we get there, we will change everything. They said they were going to change everything because they didn't have a very in-depth understanding of the government payroll. And I will say this, because I work in Manaseli Unity Party government for 8 years or 9 years. I work in the Ministry of Finance when we were Ministry of Finance. I work in the Ministry of Finance when we were Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. The way Manaseli ran the Unity Party government, with the kind of people she had around her, who had an in-depth and flexible understanding of governance, and with the kind of environment Manaseli had, where she had international support, to the extent that liquidity in the country wasn't a problem. When the UP were campaigning, they thought it's that same kind of environment they were going to meet. So they loosely made promises, whether through propaganda, without assessing the reality at hand. So when they made those promises, one of the promises they made was, George Weah harmonized your pay because he employed 25,000 sedition. The civil service payroll only have 44,000 persons. George Weah brought 25,000 sedition on the payroll. They long. They protest today, what her name? Yombli Kanga, Lawrence. Even the hierarchy within the Unity Party believed, even though some of them that were in government knew it wasn't true, but they swallowed that untruthfulness and vomited it as truthfulness to the voting population to be true. So 25,000 people, they didn't know 25,000 people coming together, only 44,000 people, those 25,000 people represented the 25,000 people that UP ministers were paying through the general allowance. 25,000 people were paid through the general allowance. They were not on the civil service payroll. But when we did the harmonization, we combined the two. So that was 44 plus 25 that took the payroll to 70,000 or so. And even in addition to that, there were some health workers who were on the donor funded payroll, and the fund ran out. Farah had 1,900 persons, or the pool fund had almost 1,500 persons. Some teachers, volunteer teachers, around 2,000 persons, and some other institutions that we have to add on the payroll. It took the payroll strength to 73,000 persons. Some UP people knew it because they worked with the CSA before. They worked with the Ministry of Finance before. They saw the extent of the work that we did. They saw the benefits in the work that we were doing. They saw the effort that we were making. But since election is about propaganda, they needed to lean on the blind side of propaganda to make what we did look as if it was very terrible. And the only thing they could say to the voters, as soon as we get there, we will change it. UP got it since January 22nd, 2024. We in July, we heading to 26. It's been almost 6 months, 7 months. There hasn't been one revision. There hasn't been one abandonment of the roadmap that we set, even though they promised the people that on the first day, or in the first 2 months, or after 90 days, things will change. And I will tell you for a fact, we submitted a budget in January to the legislature. That budget in the tune of $625 million. And in that budget, the government, the outgoing government, put aside $5 million. The intent of the $5 million was to do salary adjustment for nurses based on a memorandum of understanding that was signed by the different health worker association of the country and the Minister of Finance, the CSA Director General, and the Minister of Health. $5 million were put aside. When you became, by law, they record the budget. Since civil service were in their interest and nurses were meaning the people that they say were marginalized, we expected them to keep that $5 million to use it, at least carry the people pay up to the level we say it should go up. But what happened? UP wept the $5 million off. They didn't put it in. They said they didn't know about the document the government signed. In fact, they were the same people when the government signed the document during the election year. They said, oh, the government signed nothing for propaganda. They will not do it. But government, in demonstration of truthfulness, we put the $5 million in. They took it out. The nurses, the midwife, the physician assistants, all the people are complaining today. Those were the people that voted UP, or a lot of them voted UP because they felt UP came under the mattress or rescuing them. And we were only assisting UP to rescue them by putting the $5 million in. But the reason why UP is not doing most of the things she promised is because reality has hit their faces. The civil service that they had under Manaseli that were loose, that where people didn't have pay grade, they could choose to pay people any way they wanted to pay them. They can't do it anymore. If they decide to do it, the international partner. I know some minister friend that used to make 7,800. When they realize their gross pay today is 5,008, when they see me play, they say that is stupid man that I called our pay. We used to make 7,008, now we're making 5,008. Some people refuse assistant minister job because assistant minister job before it used to be 3,800, but now it's 2,941 gross with tax, with social security. So all of these things
is this
are
monthly?
things that
Is this monthly? Is this
monthly? Yeah, monthly. Yeah. All of these things are things that we painfully under the CDC government we took, we corrected because we needed to manage the payroll, we needed to manage the expectation of the people, and we needed to use the resources in a way that the resources also benefited other people who are not on the payroll. Another thing that you people didn't realize, budget is one thing. Liquidity of the budget is another thing. On a UP 12 years, liquidity wasn't a problem because a lot of the expenses that the government is incurring today, the partners were paying for it. The security of the country, the 16,000 you were paying for but let George Weahta, that government have to pay for it. UP never had to pay for that now they knowing what the importance of paying for security in the absence of But when they were doing their campaigning, they didn't calculate that it would be a problem. They didn't know about paying all the 10,000, 11,000 health workers because some of the health workers were paid by Food Fund, Farah, and other things. when they were doing their campaigning, they never thought about it. They said all kind of things. But now they don't have to pay the people. And the only way they can pay the people is to say some of the people are ghosts and start looking all around, finding a tendency from 2022, 2023 to say that certain people they walk into where they will block them from the payroll. So the fact of the matter with me, harmonization was to put in place a discipline system where the payroll is predictable, the salary for position are crafted, signed, sealed, controlled, monitored, both by the civil service agency and the Ministry of Finance who do the appropriation in consultation with the legislature. But UP, under Manaseli, was not faced with those kind of difficulties. UP under Manaseli could borrow from the central bank and be allowed to pay salary probably on the 20th of every month. When we are king, we didn't have that opportunity because we needed to manage the resources we generated. No need to borrow from the central because say when you borrow from the central bank, you create an inflationary situation. Because borrowing from the central bank means you're borrowing Liberian dollar, you're putting on the market. So the IMF program inform us, advise us not to borrow. So today they used to borrow, but they can't borrow. So they need to find liquidity. So that pressure of finding liquidity, the pressure of paying for all the expenses, in the midst of all the propaganda and lies that they gave to the citizenry, is what forces them to remain to a lot of the policy initiated and implemented by the CDC. That's why you see today, they cannot change the harmonization. They're telling the people, oh, we'll finish with hair count. I saw the CSA director in the first month. He said, oh, the CDC government, they say they found 10,000 people on the payroll that are ghosts. Why haven't they taken the people out? So we told him, we couldn't take people out because we need to do further verification. He said, no, it's our alternative, we not take the people off. The man been going from radio station to radio station, press conference to press conference. The man get the most press conference on social media. Today, that man hasn't taken out any of those 10,000 ghosts. Today, we learn that man has dispatched most of the civil service employees to go into the interior to do verification. The same verification that he had problem with and was running all around the place to say things. They didn't understand the issue about payroll, contract payroll that was controlled by the CSA. They removed all the people. Today, when you watch social media, you see the NCC people demonstrating that they haven't gotten 6 months pay. Because there was a special payroll paying those people, even though they were sweeper, they were casual workers, they were being paid on that payroll for one reason. Their age didn't allow them to be on the main payroll because our old people can sweep places. And the way it was looking, only the old people are committed to clean the city. Young men will not get up 5 o'clock in the morning to clean sink up or go on Broad Street. But an old person will do it because they feel that's the best thing they can do. Or that is not giving it. So the fact that we could not keep them on the main payroll, we kept them on the contract payroll so that they could get paid through the contracts. Speaking, they say the payroll was useless. How can you have consultancy payroll? You have your contractor on it.
Mr. Ray, you breaking up. What they been checking to patronize today? It's just promotional statement. Nobody asking questions. They been just promoting.
No.
Dear Francis, the questions being asked.
So I concluding on the question. He asked me a question. I concluding on it. So there were a lot of things that UP used propaganda to come to power with. The reality has hit them so hard that they cannot use propaganda to convince the people. So the only thing they can do now, be doing the same thing that we're doing and be lying to the people. It's like using a car, you're using my idea, but when you go outside, you be speaking people and other you're not using it. That's what happening to UP so. So they will not change harmonization. They don't have the capacity. They don't have the expertise. The country doesn't have the resources to fund additional $30 million. to add on to the compensation, which we took out in 2019. They also don't have the ability to increase people pay to pre-harmonization status. The only thing they can say, oh, they clean the payroll. And if they clean the payroll, which we were going to do, maybe the best amount of people, the total normal amount of the amount of people we can get, yeah, we can get ghosts, but you can get 10,000 ghosts. You can even get 5,000 ghosts. And taking ghosts from the payroll is not something that is static. It's a continual process. Manaseri time, they took our ghosts. We have time, we take our ghosts. And when Unity Party leave, there will be ghosts. So people shouldn't make the whole issue of taking all goals and tie it to increasing people pay. There should be a systematic approach or gradual approach to be increasing people pay over time until they can reach to their rightful amount of pay. But UP don't have the capacity. The only thing that they have is to lie, is to find excuses to give to the public to make it look like the CDC damaged the country and they are the one trying to fix the country since 1847, which is so bad. And they and the voter that voted for them, we see it, and gradually the people getting to know the kind of liars they are.
Wow. Wow.
Wow. Shot fire.
Man, you got a question for this man before we go to the lines? We got,
Well,
Brother Francis.
Not really a question. Go ahead, Peabody.
Brother Francis, it's good. Brother Francis Rare, it's good to have you. You know, I just used to calling you Francis. I should be calling you by
No problem. You can call me Francis. I'm a late daddy. No problem.
But the Francis, what were you doing the election, man? Why you not on the program?
Oh, Tomalin.
I understand the era, the subject matter, and then
Francis is really into it. But let me ask you, Francis. Maybe somebody have asked you this question. I've been in and out. Do you believe that there was a rush to publishing this report? Because it's international, it has been in a lot of media and stuff like that. Do you think there was a rush? And if so, what do you think the screw up? What is screw up at?
I think the whole, when you look at the country today and you follow all the social media posts from the UP propagandists, is to say, oh, all they coming, all the reports say this, the only people say that, the government been delaying to prosecute people who did this. And to them, by doing that, the people say, oh yeah, people stole and the rest of it. For me, I'm not against all the report. I will say that clearly. Whoever is involved in my financial malpractice or practices should bear the full weight of the law. But the matter and form in which the UP people are doing it raise, serious concern. UP is doing the audit in the way what we call, so you get in a you get what FIFO and you get what LIFO. Yeah. So you have all the report from 2008, 2012, before CDC. UP people say the only one they can execute is the one that starts from 2018 to 2023. So all the reports that were published that was in executed here, even though we say CDC didn't enforce it, what happened to it? Because the reason why they don't want to enforce it or implement it is because the very UP people that are in power today that they want to all the report targeting. So the only way they can do it, they have to do last in what? First out.
Is there a statute of limitation on audit or implementation of audit findings or observation?
No. I mean, before I answer that question, besides audit, right? All of UP verification, it has the time bound of 2019 to 2023. 2019, anything UP people doing, any government entity, that's from 2019 to 2023. Even if not even audit related. Even if it's about employment, even the employment SSR is doing, the employment verification, that the other CSA men who they running around talking on radio talking about, is from 2018 to 2023. Which country you see where the government come, they decide to do audit, or they decide to revise, reform within a specific period of their predecessor, it is not which one. So UP and their propagandists, they want to make the whole auditing noise in the country. And the way they can make it noise is to find some of the leak report and be posting it all over the area, so that the real bread and butter issue the Liberian people can ignore it for some time, especially with the 26 coming. Because now everybody will be discussing audit. Even if they don't pay people for July 26, because they haven't started paying people for July 26, nobody will talk about it. So this all is part of the diversionary tactics of the UP propagandists. To be talking about audit, to be talking about this, to be talking about all the other things, so that the people get entrenched in that discussion. And even forget that it's all to pay July 26. The reason why we're taking pay because the people stole all the money and be insympathetic with UP, who don't have the capacity, who don't have the competence that Manaseri and her team had to do some of the things, or the environment they had to do some of the things that they did that made the country to be running. Now they are by themselves. They say Manaseri took the government and gave the government to a son to run the government. The government is for them now. They didn't want forming the government. But see the level of misstep that they have. Just in 6 months, when you count the missteps from human rights violation to financial impropriety to freedom, abuse of freedom of expression, and all kind of missteps you can think about. Even the CDC that was not educated, CDC never had all kind of missteps in the quantity that UP having. So for me, it's part of their propaganda to just use the auditing.
So, Dr. Peabody,
Your
if you will, let me
question,
just throw in, let me
Mr.
just
let
throw
me,
in a quick
let
question.
me, who's going
Mr.
next?
Ray, you didn't address my question.
I'm going to add my question for
Well,
if I want to give a chance.
I think that you can remember now. I see. Let people go.
I just want to add my question, and then I'm done. I got to run. But my question here, Del, I understand that you just said something very important. The audit that the UP is running with, it have been stated that some of their own official today, if they really come or real audit, may be implicated in some of the audits. Can you clarify that?
Oh yeah, but the audit report is now audit report that just started. The GSC never started auditing 2019. The GSC having a website, check that you found all the audit report there. If the United Party Rescue Mission actually sincere about fighting corruption and whatever through audit report, they should start setting example on some of their own. This is the same very United Party before they even came to power. The Minister of State went to NASCO and took money from there to Baka. This is the same UP that the Minister of Public Works admitted that he didn't do procurement for $22 million worth of road, and so Porto road we have it. This is the same UP that clandestinely brought buses on a dubious circumstances to the country. And now it's the same UP where the president has written that on gentleman agreement, they bringing yellow machine in the country. The government are loaded the serious for fighting corruption.
I understand that
It's not to make noise in the country.
I understand that even signing contract with Alan White, the guy deal with Alan White. It's out there. I mean, we got the record there. You know,
that many things they're doing that we not hearing, but a few things that we hearing and we see, we get overwhelmed. We just ask for God to really rescue the country.
So let me come in for a second. So Del, I mean, I think we interacted prior to the election, and it seemed like you took a vacation, got some drinks, got the needed rest, and you are firing from all angles because you don't seem to be the same Del that was on.
Yeah,
with
this guy.
I mean, but let me say this. I think that part of the reason why we are where we are today is because CDC during the campaign failed to articulate these things in simple terms to the Liberian people. Perhaps they had the wrong folks on the campaign trail speaking on specifically on some of these issues. Maybe they should have had you on to really, talk about the finances part. We never really got a clear explanation on this whole salary harmonization thing. And most Liberians did not even know that this were being forced by our international partners. Most people did not know that. The IMF and other folks, most people did not know that. And so this is water under the bridge now. But it seems like 2029 will be a very interesting year if CDC runs and if they have people like you guys on. But I just want to say, this interview right here, Dell, is the reason why those guys told you to disengage from the Ministry of Finance, because they already knew that you were a CDC guy and you will come. You didn't believe them pretty much. But we hope that this audit thing does not turn into a full propaganda thing. We want to have a real audit out so that we can ask the real questions, and so that if there anything that needs to be checked and fixed can be done. But again, thanks for appearing. But you firing from us.
So, Del, before
but I
leave,
just needed to say this quickly. People blame the CDC for not propagating, some of the messages during the campaign. CDC inherited a government that was established by Unity Party. CDC didn't dismiss people because they were Unity Party partisan. Unity Party partisan in the different positions, even those, most of them were promoted, felt they needed to come out to power. So no amount of explanation was changed some of the things. Maybe it's God's way of showing to the people, the reality in the country.
But why
seeing that reality.
So I want to say something here before you leave. I asked you a question, but you didn't address my question. But I think there's something that being floating on social media. Huh? I asked you what is statute of limitation on audit, but you can answer that later. But I wanted to make a comment for something you referenced. I know, and I've heard it quite a bit, where people are saying, well, why they can't go back to the previous government and Manaseli time and blah, blah, blah. Regardless of statute of limitation, when a new government, whether America or Liberia, I've seen it both places, even in a new head of any agency, all of us that on this here, and a new leader coming to power, it is their responsibility to decide what the scope of the audit is going to be, depending on what they're trying to look for, what they're trying to accomplish. Audit is not always to catch somebody. It's not always a got you moment. Sometimes people want to establish baseline. Sometimes they just want to see what controls they have in place so that they can tighten their controls further. So to say that, well, they need to go to Manaseli government to go back. They may not have the bandwidth to go that far. They may just need to go 6 months just to determine what they want to do. So it is not for people to say, why they after us? Why they go 12 years behind? They know what they want to do depending on the scope of their work and what they're hoping to accomplish. So if it's within the statute of limitation, the field is open. It's a green field for them to extend the scope, how far, how wide, and how small.
So Thelma, don't you think it's politically influenced though?
I don't have enough evidence to say that.
Yeah, so Thelma, I agree with you. They have the statute of limitation, but coincidentally, it can't be for everything that you have to start from 2018. Everything that in the country you start from 2018. I agree with all they can say, oh yeah, all they having statute of limitation. Even civil service employment starting from 2018. Even people attending, you start from 2018.
That's why it's politically targeted.
So we are saying No, Thelma, and not Thelma, but tell me, right? I understand the statute. Yeah, tell me. I understand the statute of limitation, but I'm saying, even with the statute of limitation, it cannot just be for everything that you start with 2018. So everybody have their agenda. They probably took that agenda from the, I don't know what that is, executive mansion or from cabinet, whatever. Now, we'll go over there. The reference point at 2018. So somebody said in CDA, in general ministry, they starting from 2018 on everything. Something that don't even require 2018, they starting with 2018. So that kind of perception in the minds of the public, especially with the way the election went, right? The election is an election that was defeated by 17,000 questions. So it's not an election that you overwhelmingly won. The fact the election is, from some other people's perspective, it was given to you on silver platter because of peace. So you can be
that one.
I come in man. Hey, you get me trying to talk. You don't want to ask me finish. So with all of that happening, you can be the one saying, oh, you can't for the one, you can't for the other one. Everything you need the civil service now. You want me the civil service to get 10 new position. Where
That's it. I
after
can
6
tell
years,
me.
when new people come, hmm?
How you tell that if people bring out kind of crazy
Peabody doing it. So
How you
people,
tell?
that's the Peabody doing it.
How you tell that if people in the comments? We're talking national battle and they're into
Peabody
personal
doing
business.
that.
You see trouble?
Yes,
Tell that people
yes,
were
so
distracted.
yeah, so I mean, I agree with you
No,
that they did start the administration and so.
Job, why you think, citizen, why did they not audit the UP? Why they just let it off the hook?
Well, I mean, the government, given the agenda of the country at the time, felt the priority should be given to keeping the country, calm, especially so when Ombe were leaving. The government had more responsibility in terms of maintaining peace, stability, and focusing on the extra expenditure that were coming in based on the departure of the donors that were leaving. The government had a responsibility to restore macroeconomic stability, reduce inflation, and stabilize the exchange rate. So when the government weighed those competing national issues, that bring bread, that solve the bread and butter issue of the people, compared to going after people which will be perceived as witch hunting, because the opposition, they didn't even like the idea of George Weah coming to power. Let's be very frank. So from day one, they built that opposition sentiment against George Weah. So they were prepared to the extent that in 6 months they organized the demonstration. So George Weah being a man of peace, say, that focus on the bread and butter issue. They don't attack people and so. So yeah, maybe we should, maybe we should have done the thing they're doing. They probably wouldn't have stabilized the country are going to get chaotic. Yeah. So all those things are part of the reason why, in my mind, I didn't think the government earned. The government made mistake not to audit.
You in UP 12 years, they mobilized more domestic revenues as compared to CDC in terms of domestic revenue.
No, but UP led the domestic revenue to 350 million or 400 million. It's CDC that carried to 660, 650 million through the instrumentality of the late Thomas Dona, who built IT system, who built software to enhance revenue collection and enhance some of the tax programs. UP didn't have any incentive to increase domestic revenue mobilization because they were getting a lot of one-off benefit from concession. Donors were paying for security. Donors were paying for some of the health programs. So they didn't have the incentive. But we had the incentive because those programs that brought money in, those free money in, they were not available. So we needed to sweat the resources of the state. And that's what we did. And
So
UP now coming, have to maintain it because those people not available. They study class teacher and used to teach them. They study class teacher not there again. They have to study their own lesson and pass. So that the reality they face with now, it's not easy on it.
So, Del, I got a couple of things you mentioned earlier.
So, guys, this is Calabo. I'm trying to come in, but my picture is black.
Welcome, but your camera wasn't on, so I didn't know you were there or not. Right, but Del, here's one thing that I noticed you mentioned earlier. You said to maintain the peace of the nation, you avoided doing an audit. I don't think conducting any form of audit would have caused any form of chaos.
Audits were conducted, but
so let me just land on this, right? I don't think the excuse or the statement about not wanting to conduct audit because you wanted to focus on maintaining the peace and stability of the state, so you avoided doing what would have been considered you being a government with integrity and trying to exhibit some level of transparency. That in itself would have spoken volume. You probably wouldn't have had to do much had you audited the UP government. You would have had evidence to substantiate a lot of the claims that you're making right now, because all you would have done is say, here, when we audited these guys, these individuals' hands were cut in the cookies jar. Now here you are trying to justify these things when it could have been done through auditing and possibly having to prosecute some of the perpetrators who may have been found guilty of being a part of the stealing. You and I will agree that UP today and up until today's date, I still agree that one of the most corrupt government to have ever existed in Liberia would be the UP government. And the guys are still as corrupt as anything else you can ever think about. That does not negate the fact that you, CDC, your very self, you all were just as corrupt. So it doesn't take anything away. I don't think both of you should be here. Let me close on this note. I want you to speak to this issue of the recent finance minister. I guess he decided to leave. There are speculations out there that because of the level of work and what he noticed in there, he dealt with some kind of mental illness and fatigue, and so he had to run out of there. You worked in the finance area. Can you speak to that? Is that a reality, or this is just mere propaganda bluff that is going on to make people think that is it, or he just got kicked out because he could not get the job done?
Well, I mean, let me first deal with the one you came from. It's not that audit were being conducted. It's not about issue of conducting audit. Audit were conducted before CDC came to power.
But they were not acted upon.
Yeah, okay, so that they acted upon. So the people not conducting new audit. So just that one. So the reason why you were not acted upon, I mean,
thank you.
The leadership, they can't have the best reason, but in my mind, I can't fault them for that. Given the macroeconomic problem at the time. So that's my point. On the issue of the finance minister, I will agree with you. I mean, that the Ministry of Finance has a serious job to do.
Okay.
The Minister of Finance is like the most pivotal person in the government. And that person should have political economic experience. He should be a political economist.
Again?
Meaning?
You're telling me, come in.
So he should be a political economist. By being a political economist, I mean someone who understand the rudimentary of Liberian politics.
Like Samuel Twer.
I told you.
Knowing
that. Who said like Samuel Twer?
Well, Twer watching this right now. Watching.
What meant Twer such a matter expert in finance? You don't go there,
guys.
No,
guys,
that's not what we're talking about.
You guys are interrupting this man. He could probably educate us a lot on this.
Somebody just said like Samuel Twer.
I did say like Samuel Twer, and the reason why he said that, tell you're interrupted. He said you must understand the politics of Liberia and the political economy.
Yeah,
right. That's what I said. The politics.
Well, doesn't understand the politics of Liberia either. That's the first thing.
Tell me, you have your disagreement with Twer, but let me say what I got to say.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Right. From my 14 years experience in the Ministry of Finance, based on my record, based on my interaction, working with more than 4 ministers of finance, somebody who running the Ministry of Finance should be a political economist. Not somebody who just get a degree in economics and work somewhere and use to write report. Wema is a very intelligent person, but his mental capacity to handle the work of the Ministry of Finance, it wasn't that equivalent.
You had a Jew friend to know.
It wasn't that equivalent.
Yes. He's not a politician.
I tell you, but no, listen to me. I tell you,
he needs to understand the laws, the regulations, and that's why you need to understand. He doesn't need to understand politics. No, he needs to understand the laws, the rules, and the regulations.
The people that can do million are private sector people. People who run government understand the objective of the party development agenda, the party immediate implementation plan, the party strategic involvement, and somebody who is closer to the presidency, that have the ears of the presidency, that have the exclusive confidence. Now third party people going to the president. Wema is intelligent, he never had that. So Wema pressure, they only come from the work being enormous in the Ministry of Finance, But a lot of people within the Unity Party
There you go.
thought that Burma could do so many things and exercise so many flexibility, which Burma own mentor upbringing wouldn't allow him to do.
There you go.
So he needed to
The
leave.
same woman I used to do all the work for
Hey,
Samuel
Jabba, let
Twain.
the man finish.
Where Burma did work for Samuel
Doing
Twain.
all the work, he was consulting for Samuel Twain. Go ask your boss.
Well,
Go
a
ask
baby
him.
man, we're not going into that one.
Oh, that type of minute. Tell me, I baby.
No, Kenbo got to chime in when he's done, so we can take calls. Let's
Lofa,
leave half calls.
Lofa,
So-
we got 10
so
more
Burma,
minutes.
yeah.
From there.
We got 10 more minutes. Okay.
Yeah, so take it from there. Yeah,
So
I respect it a lot.
Burma is my former
Okay.
boss. I respect him a lot. He is a man I really understand econometrics. And you know, he taught me econometrics, he taught me development economics. Yeah, but classroom, professional, something is not the same as Ministry of Finance, you know, yeah.
Oh, let me get out of here, man.
You have to be
Just tell me, yeah.
multi-dimensional in how you handle the affairs of the state, especially when you finance minister.
What I told
You
you
are
guys
the
last
engine of the country. You are the direction of the policy.
So if you're advising President Boga, who you suggesting may finance minister now?
No, the people get plenty. The people know plenty about the advising who to appoint. Eh? The people know plenty about. They know who to appoint, and I'm a business to ask them who to appoint.
I mean, I agree with you. There are politics involved, and there are a lot of bottlenecks.
All right.
But to go as far as knowledge skills and
I'm begging you, please let
where
Kelly
does
go
he
come
have
in.
it compared to women?
Let Kelly go. Let Kelly go come in real quick.
Consecutively twice in a row. MC school car.
Kelly Bo, if you're there, go ahead. I don't know if you got a question, but we really got to go. I think we got a minute or two left on here. Kelly Bo. Yes.
The man's trying to say
He muted. How you gonna mute yourself and then he's talking, but he's muted.
He said what?
Kelly Bo.
Man trying to say Chi what 26.
We announced the pick.
I think I pick what.
Can I walk out?
My man, me programmer.
That made progress, but we got.
What's up,
I guess we got.
But the person get closer now because out of time.
Yeah. Let the guest just give his closing, and then we'll cut it. Now we got a commercial to play as well. So
yeah,
go ahead, Del.
When you say you get the money for patronizing today, we'll get the cash up to the show for them patronizing you today for the promotion.
Yeah, I gotta say this to you though.
Abuema wana political economy. So how to go by the rules.
I gotta say this to you, Del. I never knew you was this fiery.
I said, what were the guys doing,
man? You got a very slick mouth.
But you put down the UP.
You got campaign for 2029.
No, but
if Robert Black Diamond don't keep asking the question, I'll block him. He keep asking what stuff is married. I don't know why Diamond keep asking the question. Leave it alone.
Let him go check public record. Say he won though.
He's a superstar, Liberian musician. So
he looking for a one-way ticket to America?
Yeah. He's here.
Somebody. Like you can't start out here. You let me change that show. Tell them to go check public record. They're
but I mean, today was a good show. I'm happy that we had the interaction, and you wonderful people with your contribution, your questions, and your comments were very insightful. And I think we should continue this way to educate our people beyond the politics. Our people need information. And don't mind you, some of the people they even appointing in government, they need information. They get it. It was sending people to school before they appointed in government.
Who muted me? I was going to make a comment and tell them to mute me. Why you did that? I think that's been disrespectful.
Nobody muted.
I was going to make a comment on Jeremiah corruption here, and you muted me because you don't want to speak.
No, Kelabo, you're not muted.
No, I was going to pick the Francis opinion. You were speaking about corruption, and I wanted to put to lump Jeremiah corruption that I'm aware of into this, and tell them to mute me.
Oh, me?
Go ahead now.
Go ahead.
Okay, but Kelebo, go ahead.
Okay, Kelebo,
Kelebo, go ahead.
Your Francis is going to make your closing, but I watch you. I listen to your brilliant explanation, as you are always. You got this lengthy experience. I'm going to leave the Kun issue because the show is closing. We need a whole debate on that. But I have this opinion on the UP and the CDC, and I've made this argument out, and Lofa Julius actually picked into that a little bit. I'm of the belief many of the issues we deal with today, of corruption or malfeasance in government, lack of development, lack of focus, and we're discussing the same issue that we discussed in 2006. We are dealing with the same issue in 2024. And my opinion, my established opinion, based on what I know, is that the Unity Party and the CDC lack any capacity to transform the state. They are the two parties of corruption. Will you agree with me on that? Because you are one of the two parties.
Well, I mean, no government is perfect, and I will rely on the audits. So we first to quantify who is more corrupt, we probably need to get all the audit reports and say UP versus CDC. How many, if UP having only 2 audit reports incriminating people and CDC having more, then we can say mathematically, there are more issues in terms of dollar value. But if we do the comparison and UP seems to have more, then we can put the weight on them. And sometimes the audit report, we also have to establish there's no defense for anyone. It's sometimes to correct some of the procedure. And I would even say for audit, I would say this, and please give me 1 minute. All the time the GAC audited CDC, first the time they audited UP, they audited UP for 12 years. UP audit score were always lower. Disclaimer. The last time they audited UP, the value of the undocumented transaction was in almost, I think, $23 million. When they audited CDC the first time, the undocumented transaction where they couldn't find voucher or the voucher were not available, it reduced from 23. The last time it was around 500,000 when CDC left office. So the audit score improved significantly on CDC as compared to UP. So if we're comparing who is more corrupt, just based on our analysis from the GAC scorecard, we tell you that yes, CDC is not perfect, but CDC is not as worse. And Congo people say worse, than UP, because the evidence shows.
Where can we read that scorecard from?
Oh, but check the GAC report. The last report they did on UP. The last year UP operated the project. They consolidated audit.
It's a scorecard like overall review.
Yeah. So I'm saying, go to the GAC website. The last time Unity Party executed the national budget fully was 2016, 2017. Check the consolidated report account and see the audit report. What are the value of the undocumented transaction where they didn't provide voucher? It was around 20 million, 18 million. The last time they audited CDC for the same consolidated account, 2022, the undocumented transaction in terms of voucher was less than 500,000. So compare 18 million to 500,000 where no document was shown. Who is more corrupt? That GSC audited so. But it doesn't mean that individual employees, didn't commit malfeasance or act of corruption. So in details, we have to look at that.
Closing all the time.
Yeah. So on the issue of who isn't, that one, you can do your independent assessment. Yeah. The second thing is, Liberia need development. We have to move the country forward. But we can move the country forward with focusing on the serious issue. Not the issue of bringing people down because they didn't support your party. Not the people of burying people out there because they didn't wear your party t-shirt. If you campaign and complain against marginalization, you can be the same person that targeting people in new position. Even when the Supreme Court rule, you go after the people and you say you want order the people, you go order the people and put in the same people that you wanted to put there. I wasn't to be the one that control the order on behalf of the people. You people that say they sophisticated, are they brave to do those kind of thing? They doing it because they obsessed with power and they feel that 6 years is too much and they feel that the country was in the worst hole and they are the one who will remove the country. So on the whole, it's a good show. We are prepared every time to come, and prepare and provide our own understanding of what's going on. We pray the country get united. Send the government king to power. There's nothing about unity we not hear from them. Even though they want on 17,000 food, they make it low that they want, overwhelmingly. They haven't seen the divisiveness in the country. And as old as the president is, who's supposed to be the champion of reconciliation, he's the one that is pioneering the division to the extent that he allowed the lapses of his people to go on. In more recent time of the thing that happened to the airport.
Thank you.
The man that gave you election, the man that called you before they even pronounce your window, the man coming back to the country, his supporter go welcome him. Let your supporter use to welcome you. You send military people on the airport and say, oh, that airport, that international airport. The airport, not international airport, when you used to go there, and when you come in, your people go for you.
Thank you,
That
Dale.
divisiveness is undermining reconciliation.
Right.
And I think the president need to step up because he's the older person as far as I'm concerned in the country. Reconciliation should be what he preached. I'm not saying when he reconcile, he shouldn't prosecute. But since the president took off, there's nothing in his speech or in his doing that speak to reconciliation. It's always about getting against people because they didn't support Unity Party and Unity Party coming to save the country. I think it's pathetic. We need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Del. We appreciate it. Unfortunately, time is on us. We may not be able to give because the guys in studio really got to go. But Del, we appreciate you for being here today. Hopefully, we can bring you back on here and have another day, another fascinating conversation. But the guys in studio really got to get out. They're pushing us. But we want to thank everybody for being on here today. Again, as I said earlier, it was a great show. Thank you all, guys. Let's do this again. And let's close on this note.
What people can have parting comments?
The
guys got to go. Tell
that's
hopefully.
Bye.
Yeah, sorry guys. Let's do it another time. All right, guys.
Hello, Liberians. Hello, diaspora Liberians. It's July 26th celebration time. Oh, yeah. This is the event you've been waiting for. Diaspora Liberians, get ready for a celebration like no other. The Liberian Independence Day extravaganza is here. Mark your calendar for this year's July 26th commemoration in Würzburg, Germany, as the European Federation of Liberian Associations, for short AFLAG, presents a day full of pure grace, from the stars to the meeting due to a rare carpet event and onto a dazzling all-night party, and an all-Liberian taste and cultural exchange, traditional food fair that will warm your heart. And let's not forget the epic sport showdown in soccer and kickball between Liberians and non-Liberian teams. But wait up, there's more. Soul-stirring musical performances from trending Liberians and non-Liberian artists will light up the night. Join us for a day you will never forget. And please, don't miss out. And don't forget the keynote speech by Senator Amara Corbin, a distinguished Liberian figure. This event attracts Liberians and well-wishers from all around the world for a memorable celebration. Book your hotels, tickets, and souvenirs now before it's too late. VIP ticket, a table of 4 persons is 200 euros. The easy table of the 3 VIP, a table of 2 persons is for 300 euros. While the ordinary or the regular ticket is for just 50 euros. Be a part of an unforgettable experience at AirPlus celebration of the 26th. We'll see you there, and please bring somebody. Don't enjoy this unique occasion all alone. President Francis Mensah said, see you there, and he's joining you to celebrate the 26th. And This message is brought to you by the Media, Press, and Public Relations Office of AFLA.
All right, guys. Henry, you can end it from your end, right? Go ahead. You can end it. Henry, you got it, right? You do? All right. All right.
.12 FM broadcast live from